Following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remotely. Individuals wishing to participate may do so using Zoom video conferencing. To join the meeting using a computer or tablet, you may use the link on the agenda listed on the website, or you can dial in by phone using the ID and passcode, and the meeting is being recorded.
Okay, great. Thank you. First up on this evening's agenda is I guess we'll do it. Well, we have a notice of intent for 74 Farm Street for aquatic management of Lyman Pond. And we also have a request for a certificate of compliance, which was for 72 Farm Street. Janet, do we deal with one before the other, or what? Or are they two separate parcels and therefore are treated individually?
No, they all involve 3 parcels.
Okay.
So maybe we take up the certificate of compliance first.
Okay. Then why don't you fill us in on where we stand there?
Sure. So this is a certificate of compliance request for an order of conditions that has expired. It was for the aquatic management plan that they are now back in submitting a new NOI for. As I called out in my regulatory review report, one of the conditions of the order of conditions for this was that the homeowners, the 3 homeowners of the pond, only use organic fertilizers, no pesticides or herbicides. And I thought it would be prudent as part of the certificate of compliance request to have that confirmed in writing. 2 of the property owners have turned over as well. And so our deed restriction language is triggered with that. And I included that in my review. So before we can issue the certificate of compliance, we certainly need the 2 deed restriction covenant language, proof of recording of that. And then whether or not we ask for something in writing from the owners about, no use of inorganic fertilizers, that would be up to the commission.
Okay.
And so it's a little more complicated because I don't think the certificate of compliance was filed. I don't think all 3 property owners were even aware of that. It came in, I believe, as a request for just 72, but the order of conditions itself was issued to all 3 properties, 68, 72, and 74, all which own a portion of the pond. And
do you know if I don't recall whether 68 was actively involved? Were all parties actively involved in the original NOI for that? Do you know, or can you tell?
They were all property owners. It was issued to all 3.
Okay, I just didn't know if all 3 had applied, because I remember we had a site visit there at one point, but I remember looking across at 68, but we weren't clear whether they were playing ball or interested.
I think it appears that there was one lead. The NOI came from one individual, but there were, so the original NOI was prepared for Fred Lane at 72 Farm Street, and I believe he's still the owner at 72 Farm. But because it involved all 3 properties, it was issued to all 3.
So can we, that's unusual. I mean, do we have that ability to do that even if other property owners weren't part of the filing?
I'd have to go back and dig in the filing, but it's expired now, so it's kind of a moot point. But in the notice of intent.
And sir, I didn't even own the property back in 2018.
Who's speaking? Who is speaking?
Chris Flynn, 74 Farm Street.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you sort of jumped in out of nowhere there. I didn't hear the first part of what you had to say.
She was referencing some addendum related to services provided in 2018. I didn't even own the property in 2018. I was just making a reference to your representation to the other property owners. I happened to be on the call, so I just wanted to confirm your point. I agree
Mhm.
with you. Thank you.
Good, because I'm not sure if I've made it through my thought process, so I'm not sure what I agree with. So, but I appreciate your identifying yourself. Thank you. So Jenna, my concern is the certificate of compliance. It would seem to me that if it even if it applied to a pond that had people around the perimeter there, if the who's was there one landowner who did the work?
Well, all I can say is the request for certificate of compliance states the project site is located at 68, 72, and 74 Farm.
Mm-hmm. So as I understood, and Tim, help me out if you recall any of this, we dealt with, and Amy as well, or anyone who may recall, I recall us just dealing with one landowner as we did
Yes.
that. Sarah, did you ever?
No, I agree. I think it was the previous owner that built Chris Flynn's house. It was Elaine Fisk who came
Oh, okay.
in front of us at
Uh-huh.
Well,
at 74,
She-
right, Amy?
she came for her own work, not for a work in the pond. I think the work in the pond was Fred Lane.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
But
That's
that was before Chris owned his property, and I know that 68 recently changed hands as well.
Okay. So it seems to me that any COC that would be granted should be granted to the original filer, just so that we can take care of it administratively, given that there's been turnover on the other two properties, and I don't even know if their chain of title was affected by this. I don't know if it was if this was recorded against their properties.
It was because the order of conditions again cites the property location at 68, 72, and 74.
Again, I don't know what the registry of deeds has for that. You know, as we grant that to one person, if they went down and recorded it, I would assume they recorded it against their property. I think we're basically, if I'm correct, Jen, what we're looking at is they're looking for this COC in order to then file to do the same sort of work on an ongoing basis. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Then, and there was there a deed restriction or a covenant that was incorporated in the first one?
Yes, that was a requirement in the order of conditions.
Okay, and Chris, you may not know this, or no, I don't know how much you read your own deed, but was there anything in that deed that in your deed that picked up a conservation, anything regarding the pond?
Yeah, I was aware of the restrictions on the pond when I purchased the house. Elaine disclosed that for sure.
Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out how we.
Yeah, but John, can I make one comment?
Go ahead.
There's some confusion here, obviously, and I don't know the protocol. I didn't even know I was going to be on this call until yesterday. So, I'm, the old classic. I'm not prepared with my homework. So apologies for that. But so I bought the property in 2020 from Elaine, and I didn't realize that there was even a solitude system working with the pond. I found that out when Fred said, "Hey, this elapsed," and he asked me to fill out the application, which I figured, okay, fine. I'm the new kid on the pond. I'll do that. I followed that out with Solitude. Dominic is here someplace. It took some time to get that in place. I didn't even realize there was a hearing necessary to do this because, in my view, what I was just doing was rinsing and repeating what we've done in the past. And the pond is gorgeous and beautiful, and I sit out there every day, and it's got tons of ducks and turtles and beavers, and so I'm not prepared to answer questions from the commission because I didn't expect there to be any questions on the commission because the pond looks great. It's on conservation land. We pay for the privilege to live there, and we pay for the privilege to maintain it. So what I guess I would ask the board is give Dominic and I a chance to go back and talk to 72 Farm and 68 Farm, because some of the representations that they're asking us to make are not representations I'm comfortable making myself necessarily, let alone on behalf of other two property owners where I don't know what they've done and what their intentions are. So our goal is to maintain the pond at the highest level. you know, everybody loves the pond. We love it so much. We spent millions of dollars to live there. So the last thing we want to do is do any damage to it. But I do want to have a solution here that works hopefully for us as the owners and the conservation group. But I would just recognize I spend a lot of time walking the waters of Dover, and you can tell people who take care of them and who don't, this is a pristine pond and I want to maintain that. That's my objective. So I've never been involved in this, and Dominic at Solitude, I don't know if you should step up and say something that shows how this thing actually works. But if you give us a little time to come, if you give me a little time, we can come back with a more formal response to the questions if that's necessary, I guess.
Okay.
That's the last thing I wanted to say, John.
I hear that. Yeah, I think the first thing we're looking at is before you can move forward to continuing to maintain the pond, there's an administrative component where we would issue a certificate of compliance based on the fact that you have been maintaining the pond, or the parties, you know, around there have been maintaining it. And then we would then move on to the new request to continue to maintain that. And
Can I make one point of clarification, John, just to follow through the rules? We have not done anything after the application is expired. So the Solitude management has expired. So there hasn't been any treatment done since then. I didn't want there to be any implication that we've done any treatment without authorization. We've done none, I think. So we're here back again trying to get that reengaged. I just wanted to make it clear on the record. Thank you.
No, this is a long-standing thing. The only question we'd have is as we go forward on the second part of this is that there's and we can continue this hearing so that the parties, everyone has a chance to communicate with each other. That makes sense. I still want to find out, and maybe part of the continuance here is in granting the certificate of compliance, who are we granting it to? And that I think it sounds, Janet, like we need a little homework in terms of who was it recorded against? If we're going to be requiring something to be recorded relative to the covenant there.
Mr. Chairman, Dominic Maringolo here from Solitude. My understanding was that Mr. Fred Lane was the applicant and the three properties were listed as the properties, but that the order of conditions was issued to Mr. Lane. But I do agree. I don't believe certainly separate orders were not issued to each of the three property owners.
That's the way I recall it as well. So I think the easiest thing would be to make sure that that's what we do. And then going forward, whether the three of you apply in tandem or together, or if we still have a primary applicant. John,
we'll take care of all that. We'll just clean it up. I honestly apologies for not having my ducks more in a row, but they will be in a row when I come back. And to your point, I can't answer the question because I haven't contacted Fred and the property owner at 68 yet. So, but we will do that and report back with the idea of, again, getting it approved to maintain the pond. So appreciate the opportunity.
Sally, yes.
What's that, Amy?
Sally has her hand up.
Oh, okay, Sally.
Yeah, I've just happened to be on this call for something else, but I just wanted, while everybody's here, to ask if Solitude Lake Management is going to be lowering the water level of the pond to do any treatment. There also is a conservation restriction on the property. So we do need to have 14 days written notice per the CR if the water level is going to be dropped. Okay.
Well, I think, so I think the first thing we'll do is find out what we need to do to close out the previous one. And then we'll be prepared for that at the next meeting. And at the same time, the property owners can communicate. And then the question we had for you, Dominic, just to be prepared, is that you guys have been using some sort of chemical treatment in addition to manual stuff over the years. And just to be prepared to address whether manual removal would be beneficial as opposed to introducing chemicals on an ongoing basis. One of the questions is if we have to continue using chemicals, what is creating the need for those chemicals? If you've been, the pond's been maintained for a long time. We won't address that tonight. We'll address that when we come back for the continuance there.
I think our intention would be to respond formally in writing to the comments before the next time we come before the commission.
Sounds good. I think we'll be able to move more expeditiously there. So what I'm hearing, I just want to confirm, is that the parties involved would like to continue to our next meeting for both the COC request as well as the NOI request. Is that correct?
When is the
Yes.
next meeting scheduled, John? I just don't know if that's sufficient time. This may move into January for us.
Usually it's 2 weeks. The other thing is, Dominic, your intended date to start this would be when?
We wouldn't be starting any work until the spring, so I mean,
Okay, so
we
then
do
if
have
you-
time.
If you want
There's
to,
nothing pressing.
yeah, if you want to continue a month out.
I think a month out, Dominic, would be sufficient. But again, defer to Dominic. He's the one who's going to be preparing the report. So I just want to make sure he had sufficient time.
I think
Okay.
that should be fine. I mean, so we'd go for the first January meeting.
That sounds reasonable, and
Okay.
you could communicate with Janet for anything relative to the COC
Okay.
as well. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and continue that? And if Dominic, if you can send Lori just an email requesting that continuance, please. So
Sure.
we have a chain. Okay, thanks.
Is there anything needed for us, or can we drop?
You can go and sit by the pond and enjoy your house.
It's a little dark out there, John. John, I'd love to have you
Yeah.
over there after we're done at the next meeting. We'll share it. We'll share
Well,
a
it's,
bourbon.
yeah. Thank you very much.
All right,
Sounds
thank you,
good.
folks.
Cheers.
Okay, night. Okay, then let's see, we discussed a little prior to the meeting, we were talking about the order in which things would happen. Lori, was there anything prior to 25 Miller Hill that we wanted to address based on anybody's schedule?
Mark just joined us, so
I
maybe
see.
we
Yep,
don't need.
okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, then let's okay, so 25 Miller Hill. Oh, that's what it was. If Mark wasn't here, we were gonna bump that out. So and I guess, Mark, you're representing 25 Miller Hill in some shape or form, or?
So I actually represent the owner of 27 Miller Hill Road.
Got
who
it, okay.
been concerned, who actually has the stream on her property. And so we were hired by her to evaluate what was happening on the abutting property and damages to her property and or the wetland system. And we've been hoping that we'd get some clearer communication from the owners on what's happening there, because we've now been going about 11 months with erosion problems on that site, which has resulted in sediment discharges into that stream system. We provided the commission with a report that shows the sediment issues that were documented by Joan Roth. And I just want to note that two of those conditions occurred after the June 2023 erosion control measures that were implemented on the property. So our report shows two of those, and Joan provided photos from last week's storm that showed, again, erosion and sediment issues going into the stream. So we have about 11 months of the site continuing to discharge sediment directly down the road into the stream system. And we're at a point where we feel that, one, there needs to be some sort of action by the commission, because multiple discharges of this extent, it adds up ecologically. And second of all, there appears to be damage to the bank of the stream now from the volume of water that's been coming off that property. And the photographs we submitted from the last 11 months show the volume of water that comes off of 25 Miller Hill. And that seems to be exacerbating the problem going into the stream and potentially destabilizing the bank of it. And so we just wanted to bring that to the commission's attention. We really feel that it should be something that needs to be addressed in a substantive fashion, because it does affect the wetland resource areas that the commission protects.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I went out to the site the day after the most recent storm, just to let commission members and residents know. There's clear erosion there. I don't know when the most recent hydroseeding was. It looks relatively recent. But clearly that the area that goes down to the pavement is not fully stabilized. There's nothing has taken root yet. There are a number of erosion barriers that seem to be ineffective. They're coming down from the, I don't know how much more that property was built up from where it was originally, or if that is close to what the original grade was. And it also seems as if it's a chicken and egg situation where the the landscaping that's closest, the seating and so forth that's closest to the road is actually below the pavement level. And whether you can stabilize that, grow grass at the same time and have a storm not blow it out and have to redo it all over again. As I look on properties on either side of that, most of their landscaping comes flush with or a little bit higher than the pavement. So what I saw there is that there's probably more water flow that comes down the street itself as opposed to just the driveway. And it may have been handled in the past because there was mature planting or mature root structure there, so that it wouldn't silt, tear things out and then carry it downstream there. So one of my questions, which may have been resolved, was I wondered whether or not the town had a right of way there, but I've been told earlier this evening that this is a private road. And I don't know if there's a right of way for the private road or if everybody's lot line goes to the middle of the street. So part of it is who to look to be responsible for this, because some of it seems to be the existing homeowner and some of it may also just be the infrastructure of the road. There's no berm along that side of the road or anything of that nature. Let's see, Janice, did you get any other information relative to this?
I did talk to town engineer Mike Angieri, who also felt he was out there today. Also, Walter, the building inspector, was. And they did think at this point in time, the majority of the runoff is coming from the road, not 25 Miller.
And I would tend to, that was my take as well. And there's actually a slight sign of erosion, right? There's a cobblestone apron coming off of 25. There's a very slight sign of erosion right in between a few of the cobbles there, but most of it seems to come down the street itself. And there's unstabilized soil there that is being pushed down further down. So now the question is, we got a letter from David Parrish stating that he had closed on this property. I'm not sure if in terms of who we hold accountable for stabilizing that until things grow in, and how to do so, and whether we have the homeowner or in combination with David come up with a plan. It seems right at the moment, and Mark, I'm open to your view of things. If they were to take some of their wattles that they have there for landscaping and put them right on the edge of the road, whether that would help in directing water to keep it on the pavement, given that nothing's going to grow right at the moment.
Yeah, from an erosion control standpoint, there's a few things that definitely you are right. There is a lot of water that comes down the road, and because the original vegetated area there was a vegetated kind of swale with a lot of mature vegetation along the street. Google Street View from 2013 shows that. And you can see the change. If you go to Google Street View, it actually shows the current kind of conditions from the summer, actually, which is actually kind of very helpful. But you can see the drastic change that happened to that area that drained to the street from that property. So along the edge of the road, certainly a wattle is needed, but it needs to be a mulch wattle or something heavier because a straw wattle will wash out. So it needs to be similar to that. And then it would need to be kind of anchored in behind so that the water doesn't push it off the road. So the clean water stays on the street, continues down the gutter, and then the dirty water stays on the lot. The lot also clearly needs more stabilization than just hydroseed. You're not going to get grass to grow till April now. So you need to tackify it and probably erosion mat any areas that are disturbed that go down to the street, because those all drain to that. And that sediment has been getting to the stream every storm. And so volume of water is de minimis in regards to the still sediment going there. And so if the clean water was directed better, there might be less silty water going to the stream. But at this point, they're both kind of, there's a combination that are both not being addressed. And we really want that addressed because it's definitely impacting that. I would like to know if Janet took a look at the bank of the stream, because the collapse that did happen is clearly recent in regards to what happened there. And whether it was a volume from the street or the site, it's pretty clear the site discharged a lot of water this summer, and that's when the collapse happened, not now. So that's a question that I think the commission should look at, in the sense of, is there something that needs to be restored there as well? Because my client's concerned that there's an impact and she doesn't want to be held liable for something that happened there.
So as I said, it'd be tedious for me to try to pull up a few photos that I took, because I didn't have a chance to bring them up prior to the meeting. But that the collapse, I assume, is on the right side of as you go down, and you just on the right side of the stream as you're looking from the street. And
Correct.
that seemed to show a pretty established root structure and something that had been existing. It made it seem as if part of that collapse has been there for a long time, and the trees there have adapted to that. What I think, at the very least, there should be a probably a until landscaping is completed, a silt sock there that will tend to filter that out. But it seems that the street association tried to handle a number of things recently with paving and creating sluiceways, if you will, and into the stream from almost 3 or 4 sides of going in on either side of the bridge there. And so that may not show evidence of silt, but it's certainly showing there's no riprap or anything like that to mitigate the flow and the force of the water there. So that may be something that we have to address with the association. Is there anybody here representing the homeowner tonight?
Yes, I'm here, Joan Rowe.
No, not wrong homeowner.
The 25?
From 25.
Just to
so-
answer a couple of questions, the hydro seeding was done last Wednesday.
Okay, so basically after the storm.
Right, and also there's a drain, and I don't know if you saw it, but I marked it with snow stakes. It's like completely, it's completely covered with dirt, and now it has the hydro seeding on it. So, in the past, the water came down the street and it went into that drain, and it never reached me.
Got it. Okay.
So it was, and I agree with Mark that something has to happen between the road and the property to keep the water in the street and also away from all that new loam that they just put there.
Is there? I did notice, Joan, if I just before I forget the what I'm thinking of here, and I'll address this to Mark if you were aware of it. There, to the left-hand side of that lot, there's quite a slope that goes from right to left towards the stream, and there seems like to be a cart path or something that goes up along the left side of the lot between Joan's house and 25. Is there? And Joan, you've lived there for a while.
That was a landscaping driveway.
That was put in during construction, or?
Yes.
Okay.
That was for landscaping purposes. And the homeowner told me that, once the landscaping was done, that was going to be, eliminated. I don't know exactly how, but water was coming down there too.
Well, that was my question. It looked like there was actually some silt that was coming down from that left side. It wasn't clear in David Parrish's letter. It sounded as if they put some sort of retaining area somewhere, but it was not immediately obvious to me as to where that was.
Well, that was eliminated during landscaping.
Got
That
it.
was to the right of that landscaping driveway. That was a substantial swill. And, water would come, before the landscaping was done, water would come down from, the house down, and that would actually fill up with water. But when they landscaped, they filled that in. And a lot of Joyce, that was like what Joyce from, I think it was GLM put in place.
Yep.
dug that. They did a lot of, different things, to prevent, all the water and the mud that was coming down from the property before the landscaping was done. But now that's kind of either deteriorated or has been eliminated.
Okay, and Mr. Parrish mentioned in his letter that the homeowner was responsible for the landscaping, which, and I see, David, that you're on. I don't know if you want to, so has the landscaping changed substantially, David, from when you turned over the property?
When we turned over the property, pretty much everything that was in place was really about the stormwater management and not so much about, laying sod and planting trees. So, we we handed the property over to the client, I guess it was probably mid-August. And then since then, they've been kind of working on the landscaping, laying sod, planting more trees, and doing that kind of thing.
So what seemed to be visible to me was they stopped the sod near the crest of the hill and then didn't do anything on the slope down to the street. And I don't know how that looked before last Wednesday, but was that just unplanted loam?
I think that was intended not to run the sod down to the street, but I don't really know what the thought process was behind that.
Okay, so I think
No, excuse me, that was like a lot of brush, like weeds and brush.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably 6-7 feet wide and it ran the whole length of that area. And then there was grass and weeds and everything. And I think it was the end of September, maybe beginning. Well, actually, only a couple weeks ago, landscapers, they went in and dug up all the weeds and roots and
so those weeds and roots, once they got established, probably were helping to stabilize this. So there are a couple things that we have to deal with. One, it's changed hands, and we're not familiar with the owners. Two, it is ostensibly outside our jurisdiction because the wetlands is the 100-foot line for the wetlands only takes us up to your property, Joan, and not to their property. And so we're getting clarification both from DEP and Town Council in terms of how this should be handled. We thought that we might be able to just turn it over to the town engineer and the highway department, but given it's a private road, we can't do that either. So what we will do is, I think, Janet, my sense on this is that we should issue an enforcement order against the homeowner just to get them on notice relative to stabilizing the property while we, address the other concerns that I mentioned on a parallel basis. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think, so the WPA does allow a commission to take enforcement if work is being done outside the buffer, but we determined that there is an impact to a jurisdictional area. And in this case, I think that's been demonstrated. So.
Okay. Then do we need to have a vote on the enforcement order?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion for an enforcement order against 25 Miller Hill for
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Sarah?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Amara?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Did I miss anybody? Great. Okay, then we'll stay on top of that, Joan and Mark and any other residents who might be affected by this. Janet, did you have your hand up for a minute?
And just to clarify what actions we want to indicate in the enforcement order, or do we simply want the homeowner to attend our next meeting for a more discussion? I do agree with Mark's, at least two of his recommended actions. The first would be, and we could put that in this enforcement order, installation of a compost sock along the entire front portion of the lawn. And then the second is installation of erosion matting on all stabilize sections of the front lawn.
Well, my question on that, the erosion matting, what outside of burlap, what are you referring to, Mark?
Erosion mat is usually some sort of woven material. It
Mhm.
could be plastic or it could be 100% biodegradable, like coconut fibers. But it basically provides soil coverage in the range of 50 to 75% with either a coconut or a straw that would prevent prevent raindrops from dislodging soil particles, which starts your erosion chain of rills to ruts running down the street.
So what I noticed out there was that probably the slope actually did not seem to be affected. It was more what may have been a swale at some point. So I would say what's the terminology again for that?
An erosion control mat.
Yeah, that would extend 10 feet from the pavement for the entire frontage of the lot. And I would also, my sense is, given the velocity, that either a 10 or a 12-inch compost, you'll need some heft there to be able to keep that in place. Janet, so how does that give you the guidance you need?
Yes, and then I would say perhaps a follow-up would be an examination of any impact to the bank of the stream.
Yeah, let's get them in first, because I saw some damage to the stream, but I also saw damage from the stream on other corners there as well. I'm not sure if that's being handled as expeditious or as effectively as it could by the road association there.
Just to clarify,
let me finish that thought, Mark. This has, I think it has 5 drainage pipes feeding that stream on the left-hand side of that stream. And if there's a sump there, it probably happened on its own because of the velocity there, but there's no riprap, there's no settling basin or things of that sort. So it gives everyone an opportunity to see if they can do something better there. The other thing, Janet, is I want to make sure that we have a silt sock that prevents road water from going off the road and into the stream. And it was by the corner of their property that they make sure that. Now, I'm not sure, that may actually be fully off their property where that stream is. Joan, do you know property lines? Do your property lines go down to the stream or on either side?
My property lines?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I have 16 acres, and it goes, my property line goes, across the stream and then up till almost the next house, 29.
Oh, to 20. Oh, no, I'm thinking on the 25 side. Where's their property line and your property line join?
Right there, there's a stone wall. At the end, there's a stone wall that runs from where my mailbox is, and then it goes between the properties, and that's where it is. And it's actually marked.
Okay, where is that relative? Where's that relative to the stream? Is the stream 100% on your property?
It's probably, I'd say 10, 15, maybe 15, 20 feet.
Okay, so just clarify, Mark, you've been looking
not 15, 20. I mean 150, 200 feet, I'd say.
Okay, so Mark, can you help us out? Is that, if I'm looking at the stream, the right side of the stream that's impacted, is that on Joan's property or is that on 25?
Yeah, that's my,
it is. Yes.
So even though the water may be coming down from there, we probably can't, I don't know if we have the ability to tell them to put a silt sock there. Janet, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I guess having the homeowner come in at the next meeting and further discuss that.
Okay, let's put that in the I think, because time is of the essence here, let's put that in the enforcement order that they also, it may not be continuous with the one that's coming down the road, because that would be just in front of the disturbed areas. But that there be a silt sock that goes off perpendicular to the road to prevent water from washing out that particular point in the stream.
Well, I mean, I can talk to Mark. I mean, that's something that we could probably do.
Yeah, that would be the most efficient way of handling it. So
Right. Well, the other thing I'm concerned about it right now is the drain where all the water goes,
mhm.
you know, down the street, it's totally clogged.
And is that on their property or your
Yes,
property?
it's on their property.
Okay, then we'll why don't we incorporate that they clean the surface of that drain and remove any material that may have filled up beyond above the conduit that issues out of that
Yeah,
drain.
because the water's still gonna go from pouring, you know, if it doesn't, it usually goes into that drain and then it goes, you
Okay.
know, on the other
No, it
side of
seems-
the brook.
Yeah, it's a unintended consequence, and I can see there are several pipes that come in from across the street that go into the
Yes.
brook there, and
Yeah.
one of them was not. When I was there the other day, all of them had water coming out of them except for one, and that may have been the
That's
one.
the
So,
one, yeah.
so we'll incorporate that into the enforcement order as well. Okay.
Okay, yes, and I appreciate your consideration in all of this.
Mhm.
But it's been a long time, a year
Mhm.
of issues. So
No, I appreciate it. So it was clear for us to see when we got the call. Just like David Parrish, I just had a quick question for you, if you're still there.
Yep, I'm here.
Is there anything, what we just outlined there, you're familiar with that property, even though it's no longer yours? Is there anything else relative to, that you could, that would be helpful to address this?
I think that a sock along that lower access to the back of the property would probably be most beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that in along the road, but I mean, along the road, it's more a function of keeping the road water,
Right,
off of that little ravine that's been created there. So I think a straw wattle would achieve that, or a mulch.
Yeah, I think a compost, we would want the heft there and the flexibility that it has. That landscape road, was that something that you would put in during construction, or did they put it in?
That was put in, I don't know, that was probably put in June, May or June, maybe, because they had to get out back to do tree work, and there was no way to get into the site from the main driveway, so that had to be put in.
And the swale you mentioned in your letter a retaining area, or a swale.
When you go in that road there on the left-hand side, there's a retention basin that's there now. That's basically, I don't know, it's probably 8 feet deep, and it's kind of coated with riprap. So that was the first measure that we took, and then the second measure that we took was to put a retention basin on the other side of the road. And that was the large one that basically, filled up when we got stormwater.
And I did not see either of those when I was out on site. Were they?
The second one that I just mentioned was eliminated when they did the landscaping. The first one is still there.
Okay.
I was out there.
Well, that will be part of our discussion with the homeowner then. Are you working with the homeowner for anything going forward, or have they hired all their own people?
They have Zach Giovanella doing the landscaping over there. I'm not involved in it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks much for the input.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So Mark and Joan, we'll issue that.
Just to close one thing, John, that apron that goes off the road has been there since 2013.
Yes.
Asphalt apron. So the one that John, that Mr. Parrish photographed, that has been there since 2013 per Google Earth Street View. So just to be clear that I don't think any paving work's been done recently, but there's been no change to the
Hmm.
asphalt since 2013 in that area for the stream.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm,
like,
I'm aware, I'm aware of that. I wasn't suggesting that that was new. I was just noting the fact that the road totally drains down into the stream.
Hopefully we can have a collaborative effort, John, to
Yeah.
bring this to closure and improve multiple issues at the same time.
Yeah, I'm just from the photos I took yesterday or the day before. It looks like there's a section of new asphalt that goes, that covers a fair amount of that area. Is that?
There is, but they didn't touch those two, I don't know, spillways, I call them,
Yeah.
that go in.
Uh-huh.
That's been there ever since we've lived there, since 88.
So they basically just they've repaved spillways that have existed for a while.
Well, they weren't totally repaved. They just kind of put a little bit of asphalt like leading to the spillway. It's not, they didn't really make any big adjustment to them.
Okay. Well, we'll take a look at that as we move forward. So like Mark said, it may be a good way to get to know your neighbors and collaboration, because I think there's as I said, there's some improvement that the road association could probably do as well. So
yes, I think people have put in berm spot on their own, like the road didn't do it, but if on the other side of the street, houses that David built, there is a berm that directs all the water down the street away from, the two
no,
houses.
that's a very long run of downhill street there.
Yeah,
And so
yes,
the velocity,
it
one
is.
can imagine the velocity. So, okay, well, thank you very much,
Okay,
and we'll
thank you.
we'll get out. We'll be in contact with the homeowner there, and you'll see on our next agenda for where we are on that. Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you very much.
Okay, thank you.
thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Next, let's see. We were looking at, we have let's see, while we have next on the agenda also has Mark. We're looking at the 2-year extension for 146 Claybrook regarding the driveway pavers. Janet, can you just touch base with us here?
Yes, so we did receive that extension request. That's straightforward. I recommend approval. And then the other piece was the minor modification for the driveway entrance, swapping out pavers that was required by the ZBA for the special permit, swapping that out with a pervious pavement. I did meet on site with Lynn, the homeowner, and also Mark Arnold, his consultant. I thought that was appropriate. It would offer the same protection to the wetland and the same protection to any runoff to the Charles River. When I was out there, we also looked at the replication area, the invasive removal, and then also the restoration for the gravel driveway that had been on the right-hand side of the property. And the condition of the area, I think, looks very good. It has filled in nicely. The invasives are under control and the replication work looks good. I believe they have 1 more year of monitoring to do. And then the vernal pool was looked like it was in good condition. I think both Mark and Lynn felt it was holding more water than they had seen in the past. So I think that's a positive thing. Yeah.
Okay, great. So then do we have the ability, I think the permeable pavers that we had were approved by us as part of their project. Is there and I'm assuming we can maintain that separately from what the zoning board of appeals requires or the planning board requires. Mark,
So John, we'll be running this through the ZBA as well. Just to be clear, this is actually it's a pervious grid system with stone that's filled with gravel. It's not pervious asphalt. So and also just so the commission knows, we're actually going to be extending this pervious system over most of the driveway for the lot. So there will still be some impervious driveway near the house, which was proposed. No change there, but a large portion of the driveway is actually going to be not asphalt. It's actually going to be a pervious system that we're going to extend down there. But the minor field changes is key to just the front section because it's clearly shown in the plan as a different material and it's called out differently. And so we're requesting a minor field change for that driveway section within 150 feet of the Charles River, which is clearly shown in the plan as being a pervious pavement, pervious paver system. And we're converting that to basically it's a pervious grid system that's filled with gravel. It's got a very deep gravel base. We did provide an O&M as well on how to maintain that system, but it's a lot better. And the fact that he's going to extend it down almost the whole driveway is really great.
So that extension, I would assume, would have to you'd come back in front of us to address that. Is that because you'd be doing work in that area?
We're basically, instead of doing an asphalt driveway, we're going to put down a clean stone grid system gravel driveway.
Do you have asphalt down now?
There is asphalt down most of it, and that was what was originally proposed. And so we're going to be taking that out and actually putting in a pervious system. So you're going to end up with a driveway that's on the orders of now 80% pervious compared to the original proposal was probably on the 15% pervious. So he's putting actually a lot of money into making a really nice pervious system just to make it continuous on the property. So it's not really a change that requires approval because it's actually improvement of an approved condition.
Well, and I'll defer to Janet in a moment on this, but my view on this is, at least initially, is that you're coming in with equipment to remove the pavement in order to replace it with something that does, that is better. But it's the work that's being done that we want to make sure it has the adequate protections relative to silt control and things of that sort. That could happen. I have no problem with moving forward with what you've requested this evening. But and Janet, if you chime in on this, it seems if they're going to be doing any work within the buffer and near the vernal pool as well, that they're at least be looking at a minor amendment or a full-on amendment for the order of conditions. Is that appropriate? Or do you think it's de minimis enough to?
Yeah, I do think it's an overall improvement. So I think if Scott were to amend because the minor modification request does reference the entrance.
So again, John, our work footprint is not changing. Our erosion controls are still in place for the paved driveway. So what we're doing is we're just redoing that driveway section and making it a pervious system. So our limit of work is not changing. The size of the driveway is not changing. We're just changing the material that's being used to build that driveway. So that's why we made we've made two requests: an order of conditions extension and a minor field change, which basically avoids the paperwork of an amendment with your notify abutters, and we have to legally notify it.
No, I understand that, and and that's why I held out the concept that it could be as you move forward on this to do the farther down the driveway that it may and from Janet's guidance it may be yet something else that you would come forward as a minor change just by as long as you can document it as such. You're basically going to be in there with equipment pulling up asphalt. If the asphalt wasn't down and you had come in and you said you wanted to do this in lieu of that, I don't think there'd be an issue. And I don't think this is a major issue. So I'm just letting you know it's something to that we want to review when you're ready to go there. Okay, right at the moment for tonight's thing, we're looking at something that's confined to a specific area. And I think with Janet's recommendation that we proceed with that, I think that's what we should do. And then we can discuss the other part at a later date. Unless you want to hold everything up.
No, that's fine. Let's just move forward with what we've requested, because that's clear, cut, and dry, and we can cross anything else later on.
Okay, thanks. I'll entertain a motion to extend the order of conditions for 2 years.
Move to extend the order of conditions for 2 years.
You got one job, Sarah.
I know. I'm sorry.
I know. Are you getting up the
I
strength?
know. I'm just
I can...
second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Sarah?
Aye.
Okay, Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Amara,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. And then I'll entertain my motion to, let's see, do we have that? I guess for what do you want to call this, Janet? A minor,
Modification request?
okay, a minor modification request to change the 150-foot permeable pavers to a grid permeable driveway.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor for this, Sarah,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Amra,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Okay, great. Are
you so
you here for anything else,
Nope,
Mark?
I'm
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay. Let's see. What I wanted to do, just because we have a bunch of people here for it, is unless any commissioners or Jen has something against this, I was thinking that we would pull up the amended enforcement order for 12 and 14 Miller Hill Road. Is there any reason to not do that right at the moment? Okay, then why don't we go ahead and do that? Janet, why don't you fill us in on what we're dealing with?
So at your last meeting, October 25th, you approved the amended order of conditions with feedback from all parties. And we just wanted to run that by town council. And we got back some fairly minor comments. And I'm happy to go through those. I don't know if we need to call this up. I'll just go through them quickly. And then there just seems to be one point of contention, which is the submittal deadline.
Okay.
So there was some reference to the violation and the cutting down of a significant number of trees in a resource area. She wanted those spelled out, so I will do the tree count on the properties, and then the resource area was BVW. Town council also recommended that the chronology and the listing of all documents that were considered as part of this discussion, those go into a memo to the file and not in the enforcement order. Going into the actual requirements in the enforcement order, town council deleted reference to Mr. Brooks stating that Mr. Millette, the owner at 12 Miller, takes full responsibility. That isn't in the chronology, so she did recommend that that come out. Likewise for 14 Miller, the voluntary statement that the homeowner was taking responsibility.
So you're saying that is a matter of record and is not necessary, and they did not believe it was necessary in the enforcement order itself?
That's right.
Okay.
So number 8, which is the restoration plan requirement, the issue of when the submittal deadline would be. In here, when we first discussed this back and at the end of October, it would be within 6 weeks from issuance of the amended enforcement order. So we have not yet issued that. Hopefully we can vote tonight, and then it will be issued in the next couple days. But I believe the attorney for TTOR, Kate Carter, recommended a deadline of a week because the owners have had a jump on this. And Mr. Brooks also submitted comments that they would need more work, need more time. Wasn't sure exactly when, but they have engaged someone to do the restoration work. So that's up for discussion by the commission as to how much time we want to allow them to do the restoration. There has been no As part of the restoration plan development, the consultant for the property owners will need to be on the site. The commission has discussed bringing in Paul McManus on their behalf to work on this restoration plan and review it. So some site work will need to happen, and then development of the plan itself, which is going to be extensive. That's
So,
what-
and that, so this seems to basically be, let me just scroll down to the right. It outlines the types of things that we'll be looking for, but we will need the plan to be submitted before we can incorporate it as, in essence, an amendment to the enforcement order. Is that correct?
No, so the restoration plan is a requirement of the enforcement order.
Mm-hmm.
And once we have the plan submitted, Paul would do his peer review of it. It would go to all parties, and then I think we would have a discussion regarding the adequacy of the restoration plan. And then at that point, we could also issue additional requirements through another amended enforcement order if needed.
If information comes to bear on that. Okay, so let me address well, yeah, let's just jump right into it. It seemed that one of the concerns with this was that the enforcement order, the submission table there. I think it was pointed out that we had not yet issued this. We had town council review it. That was, part of the issue here, and that Attorney Brooks sent a letter in saying that they've already been working on this, but that they had actually requested a site visit with Agent Bowser, who did not feel that it was appropriate until we had an actual formal enforcement order. Is that correct, Janet? That's how things happened?
Yes, that, but also the fact that we're bringing Paul in as a third party, so he would
Right.
be.
But would be the person to do that, right? So I think that's I think, as I mentioned before, I think we're still moving forward on this. I think this is appropriate if we can button this up tonight. Then having the 6 week turnaround at that point still does not infringe on any planting season or anything like that. And I just don't think it's I don't think it's worth arguing over because we want to get this in play here. Let me think. So so as I said, we'll address that. Sally, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't want to argue the point, obviously some delays, I'm understanding of the fact that, it took some time for the legal review. But, we TTR, as well as our landowners are, we partnered with Concom in order to extend this jurisdiction so there would be firm deadlines. And now this is getting dragged out. And, I just think it's very frustrating that Attorney Brooks is saying, well, we'll start now. I mean, and also I just want to state that permission to access the conservation restriction is not to be requested. I mean, certainly to work collaboratively with Concom, but the permission to access the land, that permission is not to be requested by Conservation Commission. That permission needs to be requested by our owners of the conservation restriction. And we had no knowledge that, that on November 1st, that 12 Miller Hills SERP, reached out to Janet, we're all trying to be cooperative here and to share information with each other. So, I'd like to know, if, because honestly, that communication should have come to the Rollinses to give that permission. I mean, to do a site visit. I mean, there is no reason to wait on a site
Sally,
visit.
I'm in vehement agreement with you there. Okay, so I think we want to maintain communication, access to anyone else's property besides on behalf of the Rollins property or Montemajorie. I'm not sure if I got that right, but that this is being driven by the owner of 12 Miller Hill obviously we need that communication so that representatives are there. On the other part, relative to Janet's concern, it's tough to go over the enforcement order if you haven't issued it yet. So the goal tonight is to enforce it so that we can get this moving forward. Based on what Attorney Brooks had mentioned in his letter, regardless of that, they have been working on this, is what he's told us. I think and we, it is a complex situation, which is why we ran it by town council. It's a busy time of year. We got our feedback, and I think we just want to move forward on that. And I think enhancing communication is a very reasonable thing to expect. Sam?
Ken?
Okay. Sam's doing a high tech and you're doing
Yeah.
manually.
You're gonna have to bear with me for a minute because I'm pretty annoyed about this whole process, and I think I speak for my clients. You folks, I'm not gonna state the amount of money that we're into this for. We just passed a 1-year mark since this first came to our attention. My clients are paying attorney's fees, consultant fees, engineering fees, survey fees, Sam and my time, all these meetings that we attend. We feel disrespected by always, at this point, we've been historically the longest running thing you have on your agenda. We should be putting first on the agenda every time. I don't understand that. My clients don't understand that. They're pretty annoyed. I don't understand why none of the commissions ever speak to this. I don't know if you've been told by town council that you're never to speak to this and only the chairman.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Wait a minute. In my experience,
I'm not, no, just explain what I'm not clear what you mean by that. Just elucidate on that. What do you mean speak to it?
Through this entire process, I don't think I've heard any commissioner besides yourself speak in any context to this process. And in my experience, being on the Conservation Commission in Natick and the Planning Board in Natick and chairman for multiple years, my boards were always allowed to speak. And I think it's important that if somebody came on one of your properties and cut a single tree down, I think you'd be pretty damn mad. And all I hear is silence on this. And I have a list of stuff here that I would go through, but I won't take up all your time. But the trustees stated that this is like the most egregious violation that they've had in their history. Okay. I have to believe that in Dover, it's probably the most egregious violation you've had. In all my time on my boards, I've never saw anything like this. Okay. The fact that this is dragged out this long, we don't have any faith that this is really going to get resolved properly. We're going to be approaching a statute of limitations coming up. So we're pretty annoyed. My client is really annoyed. They brought up the subject. You know what? We're going to think about blocking off that trail, the voluntary access to their property that they've given to the horse people and the Norfolk Hunt Club and other people along this long trail that accesses multiple other conservation areas. They're prepared to just say, you know what, we're going to fence that and close that off because they feel like they're being so disrespected by this entire process. So I'm not even going to go through the other list of stuff that I have here, but because I won't take up any more of your time out of some degree of respect. But if I don't get across that we're pretty damn annoyed, then I've failed tonight.
Oh, no, I think I got that. I believe I've asked on at the end of every meeting whether commissioners have anything to add. So I'm going to ask commissioners right at the moment if anyone has anything to add. You know, we tend to, agree on many things, and when we don't, commissioners are very happy to speak up. Is there anything that commissioners feel that we're not addressing on this that you think should be brought up? Okay, so I think, Ken, that's part of it. This is not I'm not running this as an autocrat. It's just that we share similar worldviews, and if we address everything and it happens to come via me, everyone knows they're perfectly it's perfectly free to speak up on this.
I'd like our attorney to weigh in here too, if you can.
And is that Gregor or which one?
Yeah, Greg.
Thank you and good evening, everyone.
He'll say it more calmly than me, I'm sure.
I'll be calmer. I'm going to pick up on the importance of being cooperative, communicative, rather than contentious. If Mr. Brooks's team were cooperative and communicative, somebody would have asked the Rollinses and us, the lawyers, for permission to come on and do some site work. I've previously indicated blanket approval will be granted for anybody who we know when and where and what they're going to do.
Greg,
I've
if
been
he
told
called
November
me
one-
at, if he called me at 8 o'clock at night and requested permission to be on the property at 8 the next morning, he would have had that permission.
I would have responded in an hour.
Mhm.
Now, if we had been told by Janet that she thought it was premature and ought to be put off, we would have weighed in.
Mhm.
We would have weighed in. Fine, come on the property without the commission or without Paul, even though he's a great guy and excellent expert. Start the work that involves kicking the dirt. That's what would have happened had there been communication and a cooperative approach. This is particularly so because you, as chair, last meeting told Mr. Brooks to get going.
Mhm.
Mr. Brooks indicated how long he thought it would take to do this plan and weighed in on the length of time you were going to give his team to produce the plan. Now we're disadvantaged because the site visit was put off. The enforcement order took another month. And now here we are at another meeting in a long run, bad TV series. This, I say, not because I just want to be ornery. It's based on 50 years of experience with local boards, including 25 on my own. So we think the commission should take more seriously what it means to have jurisdiction over work in and near wetlands and related bodies of water, including the buffer zone. We think the commission should take more seriously what the DEP enforcement manual and the enforcement chapters of the MACC manual for commissions says to do in enforcing the law. And by the way, as you, Mr. Chair, already indicated, many of the things that we've been debating and putting off week to meeting to meeting are in discretion of the commission. Like, just do it. You know, pull the running shoe on and just do it. So, in closing, we think there should be better effort at communication and coordination, or this thing will fall flat.
Okay.
And so we're going to ask for a new page. This is the upside. We're going to ask for a new page in the script of this TV series where communication is, as we had agreed already at your request, they instantly copied other people. Apparently there were requests here that were not copied to the Rollinses or the Sauter Homes or Mr. McGregor or his staff. So we ask that there be a full embracement of collaboration and communication going forward in the hopes of reducing the contentiousness. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and your experience is appreciated. And we've mentioned before, this is a very large scale action for us, which is why we've been very careful to have town council review and so forth. I don't disagree from what I've been hearing that communication can and should be better. To that, Peter Brooks had a question relative to, you mentioned that you've been working on this. Do you have a concept? I'm sorry, Amy, what?
Sam had his hand.
Well, I see that. Let me just,
Okay.
I just want to address this since it's right of the moment. Peter Brooks, do you, you've started work on this. Do you, have you gotten feedback in terms of the time frame that your company is, will have something prepared, based on work that they've already started, and then the assumption is that they will be out on site very shortly to confirm that.
Yeah, I've been told late December, very early January, there should be a restoration plan in shape to be circulated. I'd also like to just address this communication error issue that's been raised and I've been blasted over. Our SERP reached out to Janet to say, I'd like to coordinate a site visit. No site visit was scheduled. As every time in the past we've gone on the property, I have notified Mr. McGregor of that and received his consent. And if a date and time had been established, everyone would have been notified and their permission sought. As Mr. McGregor said, he has given us blanket approval to go on to the property. He just wants to be notified in advance. That would have been done. It never got that far. I had no communication with Janet or with the SERP about it. He was doing his work and thought a site visit would be useful. So that said, we're satisfied with the enforcement order as it is now proposed. I hope to have a plan end of December, beginning of January, certainly within 6 weeks. They have been working on it. I know they had been out to the site, at least to 12 Miller Hill. And I don't think there's going to be any issue with this restoration plan being approved in time for spring planting.
Okay, thank you. And I have to say, in reviewing the letters that came in, I think I apologize on the part of the Conservation Commission because we may have been a little overly concerned with the administration versus the bias for action here. So which we hope to end tonight with the approval of the enforcement action. Sam?
Thanks. Part of my question was already just slightly answered. I would just ask that the commission, before, voting this enforcement order amendment, do highly consider that in 6 more weeks, it will then take our team time to review and offer comments. It will require the conservation, at least a couple meetings. I do not believe that unless Mr. Brooks starts putting out requests for proposals now, that he will actually be able to secure a properly qualified, insured company to do this restoration. From the TTOR side, Soderholm Rollins side, we don't care about the 1214 Miller Hill restoration. That can proceed at whatever pace is wanted and warranted. And we're okay with that. But unfortunately, there was an egregious act against us and our client and our property. And that requires a little bit more movement and urgency, I guess. And so, one of my landscape architects is on this hearing for another property. I know for a fact that you cannot secure the right trees and species. It is very difficult right now. So we're just feeling like this is going to drag on. And if there's no urgency. So, if we're going to grant a slight extension, can we compromise at 4 weeks? Gets us right past the holidays. Can we compromise at 4 weeks? And I would also ask that we request a weekly update by Peter Brooks, his clients, or his SERP sent out to this group weekly so that we know and can track the process and comment on it. Because I take actually offense to what he just said. We do not give blanket approval for anyone to enter this property. And I am inclined to put up fencing, no trespassing, and cameras in the next 2 weeks. No one is to enter this property.
So Sam,
hold on, John. Hold on 1 second. Secondly, this is the second time that they have blamed requesting site meetings from Janet. You guys requested a site meeting from Janet back in July, and that held up Metro West's development of a plan that we had created in 2 weeks by Cheney Engineering. I could have had this entire thing done and restored in 4 months if you guys were dealing directly with us and we had done the clearing and were being held accountable. But there is nothing going on to create urgency here. And then every time Mr. Brooks counteracts our statements like, no, we need 6 more weeks. That is not acceptable from our standpoint. We will give you 4 weeks, and that should be more than ample. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. So I just want to clear something up because your counsel is saying that with communication, there is access. and you're just saying that you want to put a fence up. So I'm assuming that's not quite what you meant,
So
or is there confusion between
we
the
have
two of
given
you?
blanket access with written notification, and we are to be notified in advance that someone is coming. And for a fact, Metro S was on the property for numerous days, and we were notified they were coming one day. And the only reason we knew that they were there numerous days is because I went out there to see what they were doing and meet with them. But we were never told they were coming again. So we're not being told anything about anyone. We are not going to be the hindrance to product and process and, you know, expediting this. So all we ask is to know there is a legal liability that we incur anytime anyone enters our property. It is a steep, treacherous property that if someone slips and falls, we are now heading into snow and ice, that if someone goes out there on a site meeting, I have a security team, I have insurance companies that I have to deal with and manage. I cannot have people willy-nilly on the property and then someone get hurt, and now this escalates into further litigation problems. So that's all we're asking.
How would you? So at first, I heard phone calls from your dad and Attorney McGregor. You're wanting something in writing, and yet phone calls sometimes are faster.
We are escalating this.
Let's firm this up so that we have a protocol for communications right now. Okay.
Phone call is fine. Mr. Brooks contacts Gregor's office, and that will be sufficient to gain access.
Okay, the two attorneys, is that clear?
Yes.
That's not enough.
Okay, what would you like?
Calling my office and leaving a message is not the kind of notice Peter and I spoke about before. So that'd be a retreat. I think between
the two of you, what works for you two?
A written notice that's a text or an email to my office.
Email is best because they can go to multiple parties and any of us can respond in a timely fashion.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do it email, followed up with a phone call, just so that if you can make contact, you make contact faster. So I see you can have both of those there.
Fine. We'll also ask Peter for a email tree. That is, there'll be some individuals copied on the notice email. Thank you.
That's okay. And now to be clear, and I don't want to spend too much time going over the history of this, but we have also, the last meeting, we dealt with the concept of us overseeing areas that were beyond our jurisdiction. And there was a voluntary acceptance of that by all parties. To get to that point, even the cognizance of that point took some of the time that has been involved here. I think we can do a better job administratively so that we're not in the way of things. And the other thing is that a good portion of what's happening on the Rollins property was outside the 100-foot buffer. And I'm not sure if you want to get started on that, earlier or later, or or at the same time there. It seemed that we were going at trying to do this as a global restoration. But at the same time, we want to take into account the importance of it is for the Rollins property. There are many, many more trees involved there than there are on the other two properties. And so we will be mindful of that as well.
We would welcome Mr. Brooks and his SERP expediting the 3638 Farm Street Restoration Plan sooner than later, if that would help him. And that would afford us time to have our specialists and experts review it. And then concurrently, he can finish developing the rest of the restoration plan, if that makes sense to him and his team.
Peter, what's your sense on time frame, whether you separate those out or not? Is there any ability to speed that up?
No, I think there's going to be one plan. It's all going to be done at one time. Doesn't really make sense to break out the parcels and be doing separate plans. And that's what we're going to be doing. In terms of the date, I thought the board agreed in the late October meeting that the SERP would have 6 weeks from the issuance of that order to complete a restoration plan. And that's what we're going to do. And
so it might go ahead.
And he's telling me late December, early January, which is less than 6 weeks since it still hasn't issued. And that's what we're going to do. Late December, early January.
Mr. Chair, he's playing semantics.
Well, no,
You made it very
Sam,
clear
Sam,
at that
okay,
hearing that he
with
was to
this-
start and he had 6 weeks. The town council issued no comments on the general direction of the restoration requirements. He is playing semantics and wasting everyone's time.
No, our draft gave him guidance, and our draft specifically said upon the issuance of the enforcement order. I'm not going to play around with that. That's what it said. That's what we're going to do. And if we can get it done sooner, which I doubt we can because we have holidays, we have Christmas coming up, New Year's and so forth. I'm basically looking at this. We have an enforcement order we want to issue, and then we want to move forward on this and move forward as smoothly as we can. And try to avoid hiccups and other delays that some of which may have come from our inexperience of trying to deal with the scope of this. And so
can we request that Mr. Brooks and his SERP communicate on a weekly basis going forward from here on out so that we all know that progress is being made, submitting drafts, anything. Like, we're just sitting in the dark waiting. You know, we waited patiently for 4 weeks since the last hearing. We saw no comments from town council. We had no opportunity to review the document till just the other day. I'm just asking, when are we going to when I understand Mr. Brooks and Millette and everyone else is taking accountability for what they did. And if they had only cut trees on their property, then that would be a fine and advantageous way to work, but they have violated someone else's property. Something has to move faster.
I hear you. Janet?
So I just want to say a couple of things for the record. The first is, I have worked for either served or worked on 6 Concoms over the last 40 years. This is one of the more complicated enforcement actions. And I have never seen one where we have attempted to bring in all parties and work to a conclusion. That takes time. And I also think that it's good to have some kind of a written protocol here. And I would request everything that I have sent out goes to the full Concom. So if any of them had any concerns about putting off site inspections, I did not hear from anyone on that. But the DEP Wetlands Enforcement Manual is very clear. You don't go on sites where you don't have an enforcement order, where you have not established your authority. We had an enforcement order, but it said nothing about restoration. It was simply wetland delineation lines. And I think in a case like this, where there are so many moving parts, that we're doing our best with communication. But I would like going forward, John, we can talk about this, but I would like you to be the point person for all communication going forward, so that we don't get into a situation where people are pointing fingers, which is not productive. I think we need to move forward on this. There are a couple other small tweaks that town council recommended, and maybe we can move forward with those.
I will take that under advisement. One of the things I want to introduce was the fact that and I want to try to make this move as smoothly as possible, is that we'll be using Ecotech, Paul McManus, as our consultant on this, and he will be involved in that communication chain there. And I don't know if and he'll be coming up with a scope of work for his review that will be sent out to all parties. And that we'll be looking for a deposit from Mr. Millette towards his services there, the way that we do with other things of this ilk, where we have an outside consultant in on things. Janet, you have your hand up again?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, Greg?
Thank you again. I recommend you get this order out. I recommend you then issue a side letter, not in the order, a side letter establishing a communication group or tree. You say what will be the subject of it, who's on it, what the email is of the persons, and make sure that it says that what you want copied to all or some or none. You're in charge, and that's useful tool other commissions have used, other boards as well. I do want to make this clear about enforcement. Janet knows everything I know. But I'm going to say that this commission does not need an enforcement order to enter private property. It needs consent, warrant, or an emergency. Any moment, any commissioner here or staffer wants to come on to our client's property, just ask. It doesn't even have to be in writing. I know exactly what to do with the request. Sam does too. Ken does too. Ask any one of the three of us to come. And you have the consent for the commission or any one of you or Paul or Janet to come on the subject property, which is not under the control of the Mallets. You don't need Peter's consent to come onto our client's property. You'll have it instantly in right away, no matter how you ask. So if anybody wants to come, I'll start right now. Anybody wants to come see the subject of the crime, come on by.
I just want to say, I want to clarify that, Greg, though. That access has to be across 12 Miller Hill. They're not to be driving up the driveway of 36 Farm Street and parking in their driveway and then hiking through the woods. They want to see that property, they go up to Millet's property and out back.
I'm giving
that. Yep.
I'm giving it an open, almost open invitation.
Right.
And saying legally the commission can come on private property. If they ask and get consent.
Yeah. So the quick question I have, just to carry that on, because part of what we'll be doing is also going on 12 Miller Hill, is that I was under the impression that because this enforcement action was originally, started from 12 Miller Hill, that as an enforcement action, we have the free right for commissioners to go over 12 Miller Hill. Am I correct in that, Janet?
I would defer on that.
To whom?
I've heard various things. If we have an order of conditions, that is one of our conditions that it establishes the Concom and the agent ability to enter. But I think with enforcement actions, you have to be very careful.
Well, let's incorporate it into the enforcement action then. Does that make sense? Mr. Brooks, do you have any, are there any objections for us, for commission members and the consultant, the commission consultant to accessing 12 Miller Hill?
No, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Millet would like to have some notice before people just show up at his house, but other than that, it's not a problem.
Okay, can I ask both attorneys to forward to Lori people that you want to have on this communication tree and contacts, both email, cell phones, and things of that nature, please, so that we can get started on that?
Sure.
Okay. And given that, last thing to address, it would seem to me the need for communication, I think weekly it might be a little too much. I think bi-weekly may be reasonable, which is basically twice between now and submission. Do you see that as a possibility, Peter?
I really just need to talk to Steve, our SERP, to see whether he's going to be able to get me bi-weekly, activity reports. I don't think that would be a problem, but I just have to check with him.
Okay, I think that would be appropriate, and especially once work actually gets started, then I think that level of communication will be key moving forward. And I think I understand Sam's view of this as a contractor, that you want to schedule things out and you want to get things and you can do them quickly. Our role is at this point forward, as we have this issued, is we don't want to get in the way of things administratively. So feel free to bring that to our attention if you think that if things are being unnecessarily delayed as we move forward on this. So given all that,
but you asked both counsel. You asked both counsel that question, I think. I think 2-week status reports, they can be a couple lines long, are perfectly appropriate. And when things get going, 2-week progress reports are perfectly appropriate to the communication tree. I think it'd be very easy to have such thing. Doesn't mean great big formal contractual reports. It means how's the communication going? Are we steady as we go? That's what we're asking for. My input right now to your question is, what is the commission going to do with this information between meetings? I think that's critical to meeting your challenge here and rising to the occasion to do something with this information in between meetings. I think one of the things that's delayed this structurally is relaying information and basic communication, meeting to meeting to meeting. And they're quite long. Just saying, they're quite long.
We are very we're very cautious in terms of our communication outside of meetings because of open public meeting laws. So that if the commissioners are on the same tree that everyone else is communicating on, and then we would tend to direct things via either Lori or Janet, or in this case, Paul, as well. But we, as a commission, do not communicate directly between meetings because of open meeting.
Oh, I see. Well, I recommend the commissioners as a whole not be on the tree. I believe it should be yourself and Janet and Paul. There's no quorum there. And I believe there should be things done, things decided, things ready to recommend to the commission. And the meetings ought to be about the final substance, the conclusions, the opinions, the requests and requirements, and the basic minutiae should be in between meetings. Now, that means, of course, Janet, under your direction, and her with her input, would route any tree communications to appropriate members of the commission or not, mindful of the limits on group deliberation under the open meeting law. I'm not asking for anything like violations of the open meeting law. No, just keep the quorum off the basic tree that the parties are going to communicate through.
Okay, thank you. Amy, you have a question? You have a comment?
Oh, I just wanted to point out that we meet every 2 weeks, so having a bi-weekly status report means we get updated on it every meeting, which is appropriate, and which we actually do get an update from Janet even when we're not meeting and discussing it fully. So
true. Thank you. And just the hope is we get the paperwork out of the way so that we can move forward with the actual restoration. And then with that tree, if there are things holding that up, or people feel that it could be moving along faster, we'll get that information will get conveyed. But I think as everyone has spoken to, is that we want better communication and more timely communication. So that's where we'll go for. In order to enhance that, I would like to, given Janet, do we have a clean copy on which to vote for this enforcement order?
No, we just had the red lines from Kate Carter.
Is there anything that we want to add to, if we deduct all the red lines, do we want, is this in votable shape?
So there are two items. So I don't believe the commission, there's a consensus on what the deadline will be for submittal of the restoration plan.
Well, as I said earlier, I believe that we had led the parties. We'd mentioned that it would be 6 weeks after this was ordered. If we want to, and we have that written in there, I think on or before. So clearly, if they can submit it prior to that, is there any commissioner who wants to accelerate that?
I think we should be clear that we will start fining them the day after the 6 weeks is up, if 6 weeks is what we're going to do. So they do not get 6 weeks plus 1 minute. But Sally had her hand up. I don't know if you wanted to weigh in, or your concern was.
Well, I mean, my concern, I mean, I have multiple concerns, but I'm trying to be respectful of this commission. But, you know, to Sam's point about, you know, I mean, they need to be queuing. I mean, it's so frustrating that the violator is that willfully cut down these trees thinking, oh, nobody will care. They're getting all the rights, all the breaks here, you know. And to Sam's point about that, you need to be queuing, like Goddard is only going to do the plan. They don't do installation. You know, nurseries need to be contacted, you know. I mean, all of that should not wait until, you know, I mean, it's going to be, you know, March before you start you know, I mean, that needs to be part of this process. I mean, I worked very closely with Ken and Sam when the Rollins's house was being built. Ken gave me, you know, monthly updates on everything that was happening. And he went through so much rigmarole with all of these commissions and did everything right and dotted every I and crossed every T. And now here we are in this situation, and it's just like, you know, it's just frustrating is all. So that's all I'm going to say. You know, I hope that it's going to move ahead and get this vote so that the enforcement orders can go out.
Okay, thank you. Peter Brooks, has there been any reaching out to contractors at this point, do you know?
I have spoken to Steve about that. I did right after the October meeting. I don't know from him, you know, what's been done, if anything. I just don't know.
Okay.
But I will speak with him tomorrow and find out, and I'll report that in my bi-weekly report.
Excellent, thank you. And time is of the essence here, clearly. And I think we are open to reviewing things. What's the deadline, Janet, for this in terms of installation?
I think we just said spring 2024.
Okay, so basically through June 21st.
I do think once we get the restoration plan, we could have a date certain.
Okay, then let's take a look at that. Let's come up with the date certain, and we will take a look at if things are not met by a date certain, we'll whether there would be any penalties assessed. But let's not get into the weeds on that right now. I just want to get this going. So the things we were talking about, the enforcement order, you said I think we would go ahead with the 6 week because we do have a Christmas and New Year's in between there, so there's some dead weeks there. And at that point we'll have several progress reports, and we'll have a good idea of where we're going at that point. Is there, the other thing is, do we want to incorporate in the enforcement order the bi-weekly progress reports?
So John, just maybe we should just say our 6 weeks from today is the meeting on the 10th that we have. I think we should actually get that enforced. We should get the plan in advance of that meeting so that we can discuss it at that meeting.
I had the same
so that
thought.
gives them, it's 6 weeks, but it's less, it's 6 weeks less a week.
Less a week.
Because they need to get it to us a week earlier, but I think that's
okay. What's
that's
that? What's
sort of
that date?
within the spirit of the law, with taking into consideration the fact that they've had plenty of time to get this going because town council.
Got it. Okay,
And-
then what's the week before that, Lori? You know,
It's the 3rd.
The 3rd of January?
Yeah, the meeting is Wednesday, January 10th, and the Wednesday before that is the 3rd.
Okay, so let's do that then. I think that's a reasonable and
John, to Amy's point, in the letter, do we say, you know, what the fines are going forward if you do not comply? I mean, I don't think we've ever done that before.
I am not going to hold up tonight's vote on, having yet more minutiae come up
Okay,
on this.
that's fine.
So I feel we can address that later at another point. We make it clear in this that we expect amendments to this as we're going on. I think it was a salient point brought up by Amy, but I'm not averse to it, but I do not want to have this kick over from tonight.
I don't.
That's fine. I just wanted to show Ken and others that we on the commission are listening. Because
we're listening. The thing is for us, and this is something that why we'll take more discussion. We are agreeing to be a party for areas outside the 100-foot buffer. Does our finding ability also extend outside that? Don't know. Sure. Don't want to address it tonight. But those are some things that come up. I also view that as one of the things that would be there is the typically the fines are $300 per infraction per day. That would be per tree.
Well, let's like you said, let's worry about that later.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make it clear to the parties involved that there's no wiggle room on this.
I'm raising my hand to literally say the same thing. I agree.
Okay.
We've been very clear. It's good to be extra clear.
Okay, no, and I don't want to, with this bi-weekly, but also we will be including Janet on this tree in addition to Paul on this, is that I don't want anything bureaucratic to get in the way of things. I just want to make that very, very clear. And this is the last round because I want to get this through. I don't know if anyone has anything really new to add to this, but Sam, go ahead.
Sorry, I know this is getting into a late night. Last just question. Once we get the update from Mr. Brooks and we determine maybe we want to have them attend interim hearing, can we request that the SERP attends these? Because it's apparent that Mr. Brooks is very remiss in a lot of the information that's pertinent that we would like answers to. So is there any way that we can require the SERP to attend the hearing?
Okay, well, number one, yeah, I'm not going to address remissness or anything of that sort. It would make sense. We would typically have in any hearing, any wetland expert or anything like that would be involved in those hearings. So once that thing is moving forward, it would make sense to have the SERP there to be able to answer questions. And it would be expected the same way we would expect a wetland scientist to be, at any other hearing that we have. Sally.
I just had one thing that was in the letter to Janet, excuse me, that saying that we recommended that the commission, include paragraph 1 under the imposition of additional enforcement order recommendations.
I'm not sure. I don't know where that is. What you refer.
It was in, excuse me, it was in Janet, in the letter that Kate sent Janet. It was in a footnote to say about this imposition of additional enforcement order restoration requirements. Janet, do you have that in front of you?
Yep, I have that highlighted to add. That seems standard. Yeah,
that's all I wanted to say.
What is that? Before I don't want to vote on that blind. What is that?
So at the end of all of the requirements, had something titled imposition.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And town council said, oh, just take that out. You can address that later. But Sally's referring to Kate Carter's comment that the first paragraph, or at least the first portion of that paragraph, should be added.
I think that's absolutely appropriate. I have no problem with that. Basically what that's saying, commissioners who may not have that in front of them, it says all restoration planting work must be completed by the end of the spring growing season of 2024. In case of seasonal limitations, the applicant must submit a written request for a waiver of this condition and receive written approval of the waiver from the commission. I think that is enforceable and sort of wraps everything up.
I have no problem.
Any commissioners have a comment on that? Okay, so done. So given that, what we're voting on is the red line version from town council of the enforcement order draft that we had sent to them, with the addition of, with the inclusion of section 1 as just noted. And Janet, there was one other item added.
Yes. Yes, so there's one last thing.
Mhm.
Which was, under the invasive management plan, we are requiring that a certified professional wetland scientist with demonstrated and extensive experience complete that. She recommended that we quantify the requirement. So I would recommend a wetland scientist with demonstrated extensive experience of at least 8 years in invasive species management.
I think 5. I'm fine with 5. I don't see, I think they should learn enough by then.
That should be.
Okay. Okay. Given that, I will entertain a motion to issue the enforcement order as just noted. Does anyone want to so move?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of issuing that enforcement order? Let's vote. Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Amara?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, let's hit the ground running. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience, and we'll get going. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and I do appreciate that. I am feeling better after tonight's hearing, so thank you for your attention and hearing us out.
Okay.
Yes,
Good
thank
night.
you.
Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, good night. Let's see. I'm just looking in terms of who we have on screen and what we have coming up next.
I don't know if you have continued notice of intent, 26
Well,
Miller Road.
yeah, what am I, well, several things. One is, Lori, who do we have on the agenda? Who do we have that is asked for continuance, who's no longer on the agenda?
So we received continuance requests from both 26 Miller Hill and 17 Old Farm to the
Okay.
next meeting on December 13th, and those came in after the agenda was already posted.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to know what we have going on.
So
We then have 143 Denham Street. Is that
I believe Mark Cooperman was on the call earlier. I haven't looked in a while.
yeah, and I see Catherine Walkie is
Yep.
here. And I see Mark. So why don't we let's address that. So Janet, if you can fill us in on where we stand here.
Sure. So as you'll recall, this was construction of a horse stable and paddocks on a previously residential lot. All work is in disturbed area, mostly a good distance, at least 60 feet or so from wetlands. There's a small area on 129 Dedham of work in an existing paddock. And they've requested approval of that under the grandfather policy, again, previously disturbed area. There were 2 pieces of information we were waiting for, which we've received. One is a complete stormwater report, which we have received. It was well done. It's in full compliance with the DEP stormwater requirements. The second piece, they're doing an extensive amount of invasive work. And being good stewards of the land, it's going to be very expensive work. And our general policy is that we do require manual effort first. And I think in talking with Mark, I think that is in the plan, but it's buried a little bit. So if you were to just pull up the proposed invasive plan in the phases, it looks like there's chemical work built in. So my recommendation was to have that revised. And with the understanding that should manual work not be effective, that they can come back and request a waiver. But first, first pass is manual. And I would be comfortable tonight approving the order of conditions pending submittal of that revised invasives plan.
Okay. And is there anything, is that cover all your comments, or is there anything else?
No, that's pretty much it. So
Okay.
I did recommend some conditions. There are standard conditions, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. And Mark, do you agree with Janet's take on the invasives plan?
Yes, 100%. She
Okay.
beat me to the punch. That's what I was going to suggest in the interest of fatigue on behalf of the team and us being really there just without this minor administrative discrepancy, I guess. We're all saying the same thing. As Janet said, we 100% are proposing manual, and we realize we'd have to come ask for permission like the other items on your agenda that are doing that this evening. I think we leave a pretty comprehensive body in our I&M plans, so that we like to show the commission up front. We've done this, we know what we're doing. However, we understand the rules are the rules. That being said, I'd rather, in the interest of closing this tonight, Mr. Chairman, absolutely, we'll get a revised one within a day or two, right to Lori and Janet.
Okay. Great. Commissioners, anyone have any comments? Don't make me look bad for Gregor there. I need.
That's
So
great.
I
okay.
think he forgot all the times that I piped up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So it wasn't anyway, it was well taken.
Hard to keep me quiet.
Yeah, right. So anyway, then I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
All in
Second.
favor? Thank you. All in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Up, Sarah?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Amra?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. And I'll entertain a motion to issue the order of conditions as noted in Janet's regulatory report with the inclusion of the invasive plan manual first with a waiver request if necessary for
True.
chemicals.
What he said. Move to issue an order of conditions according to
We
the
can say so
plan,
moved.
with the exception of the modification to the invasive plan.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Amra?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, then if you can get that over, Mark, and then Lori will get things out to you.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for your time and attention, and look forward to working with you guys on this process.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you for the attention to detail. It's appreciated. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see, as I'm looking at folks who are here. Next on the agenda is 4 Haven Terrace. They're looking for a 2-year extension to their orders of condition. Is there anything else beyond the extension that they're looking for there? Janet?
No, I believe we issued the amendment. I'm not sure if that has gone out yet, the amended order of conditions. That was voted on at the last meeting. It also required submittal of the deed restriction within 30 days. And
Okay.
just so, I'm not sure who's representing them still. I don't know if that, was that highlighted, Lori, in the cover letter for the amended order?
Was the deed restriction highlighted?
Yeah.
That requirement, the requirement that they submit the deed restriction.
So the document was sent out with all your conditions attached. So I assume it was in there. I don't have it in front of me to be able to tell you.
Okay.
I didn't add it to a cover letter, no. So I assumed it was in the conditions. So that went out, and the the permit is about to expire, so he requested an extension. So it's just for the extension tonight.
And that allows us for the for the updates for the restoration plan, the 2 years to review there. So I'll entertain a motion to grant the 2-year extension.
So moved.
Okay, do I hear a second? Oh, did Sarah leave? Yep. Anyone else want a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amara?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
And myself is an aye. Okay. Let's see. Next up is 10 Draper Road, Cheney Engineering, and we got a plan in that embodied much of what Paul had mentioned in passing at our previous meeting on that. Paul, why don't you go ahead and just bring the board up to speed in terms of what has been requested.
Sure, thanks. So we had discussed essentially trying to come up with a compromise position between what exists today and what was approved under the order of conditions 5 or so years ago. And what Deb Anderson and Artie had put together on behalf of the current property owners is a plan to restore in part what was there. So essentially, if you recall from the site visit, there's a walkway that comes up from the pool area, enters into the fenced play area. And what was proposed is to take the fence, move the fence 10 feet into the current fenced area, which would then create a 10-foot wide strip for the entire long axis of the play area, which would be planted with a shrub, upland shrub and understory community. And in addition to that, if you recall, there's areas kind of on the left and right of the path where it comes in from the pool area and makes a left turn. Within that area, it was proposed to put in a excuse me, an upland meadow community. I had raised just very recently with Deb a concern that about those proposed species flourishing under the existing canopy that's there, because if you recall, most of the tree canopy remained in that area. What Deb then has responded, did some digging, and came up just very late today with an alternative planting plan to propose that again understory herbaceous in that area, but a species list more appropriate to the that shaded condition. So what I think would probably be useful is I had sent out, and I apologize, it was just very late today, but I had sent out a summary of, if I can find it here.
Paul, while you're looking that up, I was thinking of having Artie just pull the plan up so they can familiarize the commissioners with the area in question. And that way we can see the old plan versus the proposed plan, and then you could come in back with the numbers.
Sure.
Okay. And is this Artie? Who put the plan up?
This is Artie.
Okay.
The one and only. Yep.
Okay. Well, yeah, it wasn't announced. I didn't know who was doing it. So if you can, yeah, just zoom in a layer, and so we can see what we're looking at.
So this would be the area that we proposing, the proposed fence area location. So we're moving it 10 feet further down this way, further away. This is the area. Hold on a second. This area in here would be the area that RA1, 2,179 square feet, which is this area in here that we're proposing to restore. The other area, which would be RA2, it's 907 square feet, which is this one in here. Area RA3, which would be this one in here, because we still want to allow a path to have access. It's 445. And the next one, which would be area RA4, which is 920 square feet.
Okay, so then originally you had, you basically put in, and then you're saying you're left with the 2,911 square feet of original non-permitted lawn.
That's correct. Yes, the number 2,911 square feet has not changed since the very first plan that we presented.
Okay, now so that was lawn, did that include the area that was the mulch line with the fence line back, 10 feet further on?
No, the 2,911, it's only from the edge of lawn to the approved line.
Okay, so there was additional work that was done beyond that that's not reflected in that 2,900 feet.
2,911, that's correct.
Right, so you're not giving up any lawn, but you are giving up fenced in area that wasn't supposed to be developed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you zoom out just a little bit so people can get a better picture of what's okay? One more back in. Thank you. Okay, so
I was there on the site visit, and so I remember seeing some trees planted in the corner. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the screen that you guys can right there. Yeah. So you guys had planted some new trees there, right? Artie, is that correct?
Well, there are new trees there. Were they planted or did nature do its thing? It's debatable. It's something before.
But that was something that we talked about on the site visit. Like we were.
Yeah. So these are the 9. You see how we have 9 pine trees? There is a note in here on the top. I can zoom in so you can see. You see 9 pine trees. So that's why we showed it differently with symbols so you guys would see. Okay. And this was the other birch tree that he had planted. You see where here is the star that represents where the tree is planted. There are existing trees, 16, 12 inches over there. The red ones that are trees, like on the original plan, they were showing 2 12-inch pine trees. And to be on the right side, we showed both of them. We showed what's there, and apparently one either wasn't there or it got cut, something like that. And these are the other 2, one 4-inch tree, the other one 12-inch tree.
That are no longer
there? Yeah, they were cut. They were shown on the original survey.
Okay.
Sarah,
the 17-inch tree and 39-inch tree exist.
Okay.
Yes.
Sarah, that clump of pines in the corner, that's the area, if you recall, when I tallied this up, I said there was about 200 square foot area that was approved to be cleared, but was not. So that was kind of a minus in that category.
Okay.
And where's the 200-foot riparian there? Is that along the limit of work line, or is that where was that?
So this is the 100-foot buffer. This is the 100-foot. This is the 100-foot in here, and the 200 feet is further up. Hold on a second.
There. Okay. So that's outside the 200-foot area anyway, is it, or is it?
Well, no, this is inside. You see how?
Oh, okay, because right,
on the right-hand side,
the stream bends. Got it. Okay. So that I just wanted already to bring this up so people could see what had been proposed, what was done, and then what is being proposed to be restored. We're all cognizant that the folks bought this from previous owner. The previous owner, it looks like they basically did what they originally proposed that we didn't allow them to, because the coverage number is almost identical, and we're open to that understanding that these people have inherited this. Paul, you're pulling up your is that you pulling up your numbers, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, you're looking at the agenda.
Right. So Paul's pulling up a comparison numbers. And it was if people recall, the original, the state, well, I'll let Paul address this. This is what the state allows for within the riparian area versus what we allowed and what we're looking at for our restoration of that.
Yeah, so again, potentially the commission 5 years or so ago could theoretically have approved up to 10% alteration in the riverfront area, subject to the whole alternatives analysis question.
We're still seeing the agenda.
Yeah, we're still seeing the agenda.
It didn't. I think you have to stop share and go back and share again.
Oh, okay. Let me.
It's not as flexible as it should be.
Yeah, let me. Do you have my?
Yeah, we got it
highlighted. Okay, thank you. So again, top line here that I have highlighted, order of conditions approved 6,300 square feet of work in the riverfront, which was just about 4.9% of the riverfront. That's what the order conditions. The existing condition is just shy of, by my calculations, somewhat relying on Artie and somewhat my own estimates, but just about 9.9%. What's proposed now is these folks have basically proposed to kind of go backward from the existing condition toward what was approved, but not entirely there. And again, they're doing it in two fashions. One is the shrub plantings, which is the 10-foot strip that currently exists as mulch inside the fence, but not lawn. That's where they're proposing to do woody plantings and herbaceous understory. That's the 1,365 square feet, and then roughly 3,100 square feet of the meadow. And that's not 100% in kind restoration, but it's certainly a more natural condition than exists today. And if you were to consider that to be restoration and did the tally again in the riverfront, that would bring you to the riverfront alteration that's left to be about 6.5%. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so basically we go from the 9.9 that's currently to 6. They would bring it to down to 6.5%, which is roughly 1.5% more than what was originally allowed. Does that make sense?
Correct.
What is meadow plus shrub? Is that the total?
That's 4451 is these 3086 plus 1365. So that's the total of what's proposed.
Right. And was
currently on the table.
Is meadow referred to the area that Deb revised later today, so that it's not going to be a straight meadow mix? It was going to be some additional shrub.
It's still herbaceous, but it's a different mix. It's more compatible with the shaded condition, but it's still an herbaceous situation that Deb, as I recall, had proposed the ability to maintain it in that condition, as opposed to the area, the 10-foot strip inside the fence, the 1,300 square feet, is proposed as woody plantings, 5 feet on center.
And do we have a planting plan for that?
Yes.
And then the meadow stuff, is that in the area that's on either side of the pathway there?
That's correct.
Okay, so that is very shaded. Do you see has it been denuded of mid layer shrubs in there, or
yes, it's pretty much,
it has been.
Okay, so would it make sense to have some additional shrubs in there?
I mean, that was what I was going to ask. What's the difference? So Paul, why aren't we doing the whole total existing? Why aren't we proposing the whole RDA?
So Sarah, are you saying why not go back to what was originally approved and just enforce that?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess the question, part of it is, do we give somebody who bought a property on, being told that everything was under control, do we give them any leeway is one thing. And I think we kind of held out as a commission that we were open to, a midpoint here somewhere. But go ahead, Amy.
Sorry, this isn't anything different than they had originally come back to us with last time.
I don't recall actually, because I knew that at one meeting, Paul had mentioned the idea of getting rid of the of planting in the mulch strip, that 10-foot strip beyond the lawn there. And as an example. And so I thought, I don't recall what they had originally for that, or if they were just asking for some dispensation and then came with this variation.
When I did the site visit, it was clear that back area was a field. I mean, like was a play field, like a soccer field. It was not. It was definitely lawn. It was not like oops. Like it was. I mean, Paul, you were there with me. I mean,
yeah, no, there's no question. I think
there's no question that was like, that is not.
Sarah,
Sarah,
if you look at the original request from the previous owner, and then you look at what we just saw where Artie showed the dashed red line, that triangle over to the right side.
Right. No,
that's additional stuff that they cut down and planted as grass that they weren't supposed to. And if you compare it to the original plan, the previous owner basically did what he originally asked to do, which we told him he couldn't do. And so that's why what you're seeing is a rectangular field out there.
right.
Go ahead,
And so
Amy.
the new owners bought this from the previous owner who did it against our wishes. But yeah.
I guess what I'm worried about is that this approved RFA area actually doesn't include some of the disturbance that happened this time, that now they're talking about proposing restoring area that wasn't supposed to be disturbed in the first place. And so they're kind of getting credit for restoring. And I'm saying this as, I'm not implying that the current owners did this, but they're getting credit for restoration in areas that weren't even on the original plan to be disturbed. So they're not, I'm not sure, I guess I'm not sure they're part of the 3632. And
well, I'm just looking at it. I'm just looking at it, Amy, as you know, the 4.9% is what you approved. 9.9% is what was built, and these folks, you know, the commission's initial position is, hey, this is a violation. It needs to be restored. And these folks, essentially, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but essentially are saying, hey, we got stuck with this, we didn't do it. Can we work on a compromise? And this is their compromise. And the compromise has two parts, in my opinion. In that one part is that they want to keep an additional 1.5% as in a totally manicured position.
Right.
Totally
It's obvious, Paul,
condition.
when we saw it. It was like they loved their little backyard. I mean,
and the other part is that they want to, they're going to back away from 9.9% to 6.5, but they're not proposing all of that to be 100% mimic the natural forest community. They're proposing this different, much more natural community than exists today. But to be clear, not, it's not a full in-kind restoration. And that's not to say that it's, you know, that it's better or worse. It's different. So that's, you know, you know, they're, as John said, they're responding to the notion that the commission, you know, might be willing to consider something in between existing and full restoration.
So I agree. I guess my I thought we had already told them, I thought they had already come to us with essentially this plan, and we said it wasn't enough.
No, this is in my view, this is a step towards more natural condition than
what exists today. I agree, but I guess this seems like maybe I'm misremembering, because we've had so many of these long meetings. But I thought last time we were starting to draw other lines on that were.
This is one of the other lines.
Yeah, this was one of the other lines.
It's
so that one of the other ways we looked at.
I also am a little bit worried that this meadow is going to get mowed, and then it's not going to be a meadow anymore, and you can't go from the street. So
yeah, I have the same concern on the meadow.
And I think these shrub plantings are anyway. We need to get rid of some of that grass. I just don't.
Well, part of it, I guess one of the things that, and I know that the way when
to make it straight.
Well, one of the things they are making it straight, but one of the other options we'd mentioned was to shorten up the right side a bit, and do a combination of these. But then when you actually look at the percentages involved, and you're going from 4.9 to 6.5, as opposed to the 9.9. I understand the visceral feeling of wanting to take away some of the grass, but I'm also looking at the whether taking out 1,500 feet of grass really makes that big of a difference versus I'm more concerned, frankly, is what you voiced earlier, which is I'd rather see more shrubs on the where the meadow is being proposed. As opposed to meadow, if that's in the dark area on either side of the path. Is that where that's being proposed, Paul?
That's correct.
Okay. It is, but the seed mix that I proposed is a woodland seed mix to use beneath trees. And it's adding a different wildlife value. You know, we're proposing 55 high wildlife value shrubs in a naturalistic formation, and we're trying to add a different value.
And what are examples of those plants, Deb?
I can, if you want me to share, I can show you the seed mix.
Well, you just give us an idea. Just give us an idea. You're describing as something. Can you just help us out in terms of what makes it different?
Well, I mean, we had proposed having the areas on the sides of the path as being a pollinator meadow, to add that extra wildlife value to that area, because that's a underserved kind of ecological area for pollinator meadows. But then in talking to Paul, he thought, you know, it may be a little bit too shady. So then I started researching other seed mixes, and I found a seed mix, which I'm happy to pull up, which also has some photos of it. That is a expansive seed mix. There's probably, you know, 40 or 50 different seeds in this mix that's created for areas in the shade beneath trees. But it also has species in there that are important to pollinators.
And would that coexist with a moderate level of additional shrubs? You know, we seem to have knocked out.
Well, I mean, to maintain
this
as a meadow, it needs to be mowed, and it needs to be mowed at least once a year in the fall.
Mhm.
And so if you're adding shrubs in there, that defeats the purpose of
Can we,
having a meadow.
can we pull up the plan, Artie's plan again? If you pull that down, Paul, thanks. Okay, so, Artie, can you show us where the proposed meadow is supposed to be?
RA 1 and 2, Artie?
Yeah, I'm trying to click. So this would be RA1. You see the highlighted area?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then
Okay.
this other
So
one
those-
would be RA2.
Okay,
So
so
they're
those
on the
are,
left and on the right of the path.
right, so those are areas that were well shaded, well treed prior to that. And so you're looking at a meadow mix there and then shrubs along the play area, is that correct? Yeah, that from left to right
Yeah,
there.
RA3 and RA4,
Okay.
the
So
55 shrubs.
Number one, I'm not convinced that throwing a meadow in there and then mowing within that area, within the inner, close to the inner riparian, if that's the appropriate thing to do there for what had been there. If part of what we're looking at is restoring what had been there. Can we pull the plan down just a little bit more so we see the whole field?
Like this?
Yeah, thank you. And so the playground area there, is there a swing set or something like that there currently?
There is a playground in here,
But is there
but this is
Structure,
outside.
yes.
This is, yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
this was already approved. Where the
Okay.
playground, the swing set.
No,
is.
I know. You have an area of unapproved stuff, and it's a matter of where things could be moved around. And I guess part of what I'm looking at is on the right side of the playground there, or not the playground, of the field. Is there a tree line that comes in like that? Is that what we're seeing there? See that?
This is wooded in, it's all trees in here.
Okay.
Yeah, but the whole thing, John, is completely green. It's a big field.
Yeah.
There's no trees in the middle of the
Well,
field.
no, I'm just wondering what it's showing currently. It's showing trees that came down, the 4, the 24, the 10. Those trees, those came down. And
Mhm.
then it's showing an edge of tree line. I don't know if that's because of taller trees that are just giving you that squiggly green line, the little triangle.
Well, this
there.
was the edge of the lawn. When they did the survey, they picked up the edge of lawn. So maybe this area in here was maybe with water or something, or covered with
Okay.
leaf. That's why we picked up the edge of lawn. That's what we were trying to go around. So this
Okay.
whole thing in here is approximately where the lawn is. The wood
Okay.
rail fence is down here,
So does the
so-
lawn go all the way up to the wood rail fence?
close to it, yes.
Okay, so I think part of it, the issue I have is, I think similar to Amy, I'm not convinced that the trees and the denuding that you did on the first 2 sections along the path have been incorporated into the 9.9%. I'm wondering if the extra grass is and the mulch line inside the field is what gets you to that 9.9%, and if the other areas behind, below that are actually included in the areas that were not supposed to have been touched. Can you address that?
Deb, is that something you can help us with?
I think if you look
that-
at Paul's math, that to get to the 12, he takes our original number and then he adds these other 3 areas that they're essentially restoring stuff they weren't supposed to touch,
Right.
but they're not they're not giving us anything for the 3,000 square feet of additional lawn and
Mhm.
all the trees that were cut.
I agree.
Right, and the
So-
question there, maybe with Paul's numbers there, Paul, is there, in order to get to that 6.5%, is that including the 2911 of the grass, or is it including a smaller amount?
To get to 9.9, you have the 2911.
Correct.
Right, and if you take, and what was that, is that 12,000 square feet, or what was the total that was there?
I
for the
thought it was
9.9?
9,000. It was like 9,169 square
No, the
feet.
total existing riverfront alteration is 12,500.
Okay. Okay, and so then if you take 3,000 out of that, you're at 75%. Revised there. So I'm kind of with Amy. I was wondering about that stuff that was taken out below that because it was never included in the original plan. They did.
Right. So he took our original plan and then he added the additional
lawn
pieces on. So 3,600 square feet of along the path, and a certain number along the top, and then gave them back a couple hundred for the trees up in the corner.
Mm-hmm. And took out the mulch line. And is the proposal on this relative to the mulch line being replaced with shrubs, is that to relocate the fence along the grass? What's being proposed?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess what I had proposed, as a potential was so are we looking at, what's the total grassed in area? Are we looking at almost 10,000 square feet? Does anybody know? Was it like
I would say close to that.
120 by 80 or something like that?
I mean, I'm not good, John, with feet, but yeah, I would say it was a good.
Well, I'm asking the surveyor who is.
Sorry, I was muted. It's 9,621 square feet.
That's pretty close. Okay. And is that roughly 120 by 80? Let's see. Yeah, that would come out close. You do the math. Okay. And I guess the question I had is to shorten up a part of the grass side to the right side there, so that you're because what I'm hearing is what's shown as the limit of lawn may not actually be the limit of lawn. It actually goes closer to the
close
fence.
to it. Yeah.
And so that the concept of where your cursor is right there, to draw a straight line both up and down and receive basically from the peak of your triangle of the lawn to go up and down, and so that all of that is then also is removed as lawn. It still keeps a rectangle, but it gets you a little bit closer to things.
Just essentially moving the post and rail fence in 20 feet.
Correct. So if it's 20 by 80, there's 1,600 square feet.
Right.
So you still have, a lot of space there. It gets you much closer to what the original is. Does it address some of the concerns that commissioners have had relative to the grass?
I think we have to, we also have all the trees that were taken out.
Well, the concept.
Then we can figure out that's where they can ruminate, like in that area.
Right. They could add some trees there, keep them over to the right side, and so they don't have kids running into the trees.
Right, they're moving the post and rail, and it slopes off there anyway. So
there's an irrigation system under there as well.
Yeah,
John. I heard that concern, and John, I'll get to you in just a minute because I have an idea where you're going with this, but this seems, what I'm hearing on the part of commissioners is that it's really the intrusion of the grass that really bugs people. And I guess my sense is if they take this even without doing this, but they've done a bunch of additional planting, which I still share the concern that Amy has, whether that's a real number, is that are we willing to give them 1.5% above the original thing? And I'm on a percentage basis, I don't have a problem with that. And also the fact that the grass is, we're getting farther away from the river front area, the river protection area. But it just feels like that's a little bit of a give back. And I understand people's concerns there. Then I'm wanted to bring up, Jonathan, I think you had mentioned in your letter, there's a question here as to whether or not jurisdictional. Is that correct? Okay.
I don't think there's a question.
Well, there's a logic involved here. So, and the question really comes down to how much energy does the board and does the owner and their attorney, how much do we really want to put all into this for something that is relatively benign? And I'll outline for the board what's at issue here. The was it an SJC ruling, John?
Correct.
Okay, so
but it's also in your bylaw.
Yeah. However, there were also so there was a ruling that said basically that you that enforcing things of this sort has a 3-year statute of repose, similar to a statute of limitations, except that a repose can be restarted whenever the property changes hands. And so based on that, Jonathan has been very helpful bringing to our attention that that supposedly we have no jurisdiction over trying to enforce this in the first place. The question there is that particular case dealt with, I think, an enforcement order as opposed to an order of conditions. But it also did not address the tolling that seemed to have come about during COVID. All of these things can be litigated, okay? And the question is, if we can come up to a voluntary agreement between all parties here so that we don't have to litigate this, and yet we still get something where not everyone's happy, but we still do a better job than what the previous owner did. And then we can just move on with things.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what the basis is here. Is they have a case to take this to court and say that we no longer have jurisdiction because they moved in more than 3 years ago. And we can decide whether we want to look into that and go a few rounds with this, or we can determine whether something like this is a reasonable accommodation. Amy?
Just that while the tolling may have expired, our jurisdiction may have expired. Should they sell this property, we can go after the next homeowner.
Oh, absolutely. No,
and that's
yeah.
going to make it very difficult for them to sell this property. So
probably not.
I think it's much better if we get it resolved now when everybody has a chance to do it, as opposed to, having them be in a crisis because they can't close. And
no,
it's not really, I feel bad for them, but I also find that their due diligence on the property was faulty. So
well, and I grant we have run into this occasionally where it's a head scratcher when attorneys rush to purchase and and don't do diligence of this sort. So I guess I just outlined that, and then the countervailing thing is, as Amy mentioned, is once it sells again, we would put something on record that would bring it to any closing attorney's attention that this thing would get started again. And I guess part of me is thinking, okay, but it's not rocket science. If we give, if we figure something out, yeah, we can do something about this. So, now, and Jonathan doesn't have kids to put through college anymore, so,
I
we
still
can-
have one.
Oh, do you? Oh, well,
Yeah,
so.
so I was gonna propose a extension on this for a couple
Mhm.
more meetings.
Mhm.
Because I have a tuition bill coming due in January.
So I think you everyone understands that, yes, there's a way to play a legal game, at which point the town can wait. We have the patience. But it would be nice, the goal here is the kids want to have a place to play, which is why this was put in the first place. I think it's only one child at the moment, but that it wasn't what was approved. We want to, so I just go back to the drawing board and see if you can accommodate something a little bit in tune with the fact that you guys are living along a stream that has a 200-foot protected area. And I think this also tells you again, we do want to work with you, but we're also, but we know it could become a mess, and it just seems like such small potatoes to become a mess. So does anybody have anything they'd like to add to that?
Well,
Anna's been wanting to speak, John.
Oh, okay, Anna.
I'm muted. Yeah, I also want to get this resolved better for the wetlands. It beats sitting and looking at each other, and the plan is, generally heading in good directions. I had a question, and this is probably just straight to town council. If the statute of repose is for enforcement, what does that mean for us granting a compliance certificate? Because maybe we can't issue an enforcement order, and I get that. That's what Superior Court says. That's fine, but we are still doing compliance, right?
Well, so that's the other part of that whole little yin and yang that doesn't really solve anything, which is that not only would we record something there, in order to go forward with a new project, you would have to issue the certificate of compliance for the previous project. And so that itself, I imagine, would lead to litigation. So the idea is to try to figure out how not to do that. So Paul, do you have anything else to add relative to potential improvements or the things that we're dealing with here?
I guess my only comment would be, as I said, this is, they're proposing to renaturalize, essentially 2/3 of the overage, I'll call it. But in a different form than the natural condition. So, and then, you talked and at your request already kind of drew a vertical line along the right side there. And there was discussion about, possibly adding some additional restoration over there. I guess if the negotiation is going to go further on that, I guess I would just urge everyone to think about and be clear as to the character of those areas, and whether, and whether, we're talking about, restoring a forest community, restoring a meadow, restoring a shrub community, just be clear as to what it is that's being kicked around.
I agree with you, Paul, because it's very clear. It's like it's a field with a fence line with the river going down that way. So we just have to be clear of what we want.
Right. And the areas, in particular, the areas on either side of the path,
Right.
What Deb came up with is something different than a restoration to the natural forest. And it has value. I agree, as she said, it has value. It's a different type of habitat. But I just want to make sure that as the discussion moves forward, hopefully it does, that everyone's talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Well, and as part of that, I'm feeling that commissioners are very upset about the grass and would like to see some mitigation of the grass. The question is does that really help us if we don't replace that area with something that's beneficial to the connecting woodland stock? You know, I think that it's just an exercise to say that we don't like the grass. And so, you know, go ahead.
Excuse me, John. One thing is that you know, Deb's pollinator meadow would actually probably do well at that point.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because there's, you know, it's got a much you know, half of the canopy, you know, direction, and that's to the west, I guess. So that area would get a fair amount of sun.
Okay. I guess the
I'm not
concern
opposed,
there.
and John, I apologize. I'm not opposed to the grass. It's just that they've already made a grass field, like that field is like a grassed in field now. So it's, I mean, it's not cemented in, but it's not, I don't want to say it's a playing field or whatever, but it's a grassed in area.
I mean, it is the amount of extra field. It's 45% more field than they were than we permitted, right? So we're not talking about like a few extra feet here. We're talking about a lot of extra field, and to give up a little bit of it. And I'm not opposed to putting pollinators there. They took down some trees that they weren't supposed to. Maybe there should be some more trees planted outside where the fence is, but you know, that's what Deb is really good at, figuring out the right things to put there. But you know, to give them a 45% higher, a larger field than we permitted, it's just doesn't feel like, you know, it just feels like people will do what they want and ask for forgiveness. And why are we here till 10:30 at night if everybody's just going to come and ask for forgiveness?
Amy, I'd like to say that we're not asking for forgiveness. We didn't do this. Okay.
But it goes with the land.
Well, I understand that, but also what
you bought it with an open order of conditions. You could have looked at the order of conditions and seen what the plan was and realized that it wasn't kosher.
But normally people don't look at that level of detail. And it did, but normally sellers get a certificate of compliance, and we heard all that where the seller said that everything was okay, and you know, we know there's misrepresentation on that. So
Amy, also, you could have gone down and taken a look at it to see if it had been done right.
No, we can't.
Of course you can. You have an order of conditions.
Yeah, we do. No, and actually, but one of the things I mentioned earlier, I just want to cut to the chase on this part of it, is that we know that, Jonathan, which is why currently
we're volunteers.
I understand. I am 100% with you on the volunteering. Thank you very much.
Can I make this point, Jonathan? We know that. So that's currently why for the last 4 years, any order condition out there has to give us 30-day progress reports as they go through, so that we have the ability to see that. And that's precisely to avoid these sorts of things from happening. So that's a clear indication that this is not the first time this has happened.
I know it's the first.
Yeah. So my feeling on this is, in my input, just as a commission member, not as chair, my concern about the meadow mix on the right side is that it will end up getting mowed with the grass, just, you know, over time.
Well, that's why you have to move the fence.
Right. So that's, you know, so that's one option, but then it's tough to mow it. So the idea of trees.
What about some kind of permanent bounds or something?
I'm concerned about that because kids playing there, you're gonna break something. And you know, we want to, you know, naturalize this but not hurt children. So
well, we have in Needham, we've allowed people to use bird boxes as to delineate an area, and it would add a value to it as well.
It's
I think
it's too hidden. We'll never,
No, I think the idea of just moving the fence line, the irrigation concern that had been raised is relatively minor for an irrigation company to come in and pull some heads back. So I don't see that being a major concern for that. I think what I'm hearing here is that we're close. I think I would like to have pictures or something that shows us this meadow through the woodlands. That is the concept of mowing around trees in a woodland just is looking for some abuse. I think I personally would feel better with more of a replication of what else is in that area for understory there. And then if we had, as I showed there, or if somebody else comes up with another example, something that just gives us a little bit more replication from that, I think we're really close. And I agree with Jonathan. Let's go ahead and continue this. Nobody wants to get messy about litigation, which will take the children into junior high. Let's do another go around here and see what we can do to work things out. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to offer there?
So I think I'm all set.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sorry that you guys had to wait so long tonight, but we've been a busy board for years now. Okay, then thank you much. And we'll put you on the next meeting's agenda.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we do appreciate your volunteering and spending your evenings doing this, because I understand.
I know you've
Used
been there.
to do it.
So, okay. Thank you much. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay. Next we're looking at is 60 Claybrook Road. What's that? Janet?
COC request, and I met on site, and they're putting in signage and bounds, so that's continued.
Okay, great. Then does that take us through our do we have any? No, we have I see Debbie and Artie are still here. Do we have anything to address for them, or Deb, Artie?
Just love being with you guys, so we don't want to leave you alone.
Oh, good. We all feel the love as well.
Okay. We'll
Okay,
talk to you. We'll see you in the next meeting.
Okay, I didn't want to keep you on any longer if I was missing something. So okay,
No, thank
feel
you.
free to stay. Feel free to stick around. I'm sure you'll learn lots. Yeah.
I appreciate
Okay.
it. Bye.
Okay. Next thing I have is we have a fiscal year budget vote. Did people have a chance to open up what Lori had sent out relative to our budget? Okay.
Excuse me,
close
John,
enough?
I'm gonna
Oh,
sign up.
yeah. Yeah.
Hi,
So we're
Paul.
all done. Thank you much, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Night.
Up.
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
Are we going to discuss 29 Saddle Ridge Road tonight? I don't see.
Oh. What happened? Yeah.
Paul, is Paul still on? That's what he sent. He sent that email.
Was right? No. Was anyone else? Was anyone on earlier who was associated with that?
They were, but I think they dropped off.
I don't blame them, but that's the way. So let's if we're going to continue that, I would assume we'll continue that. Let's do that to the next meeting and let them know, and let's put them on early in the agenda.
Yeah, because I didn't see anything. There wasn't anything on 29 Saddle Ridge Road on the agenda. No.
Is there a?
Yeah,
well,
it's on the agent's
there's
report.
there's an update.
Agent's report down below. Okay.
Right. Well, why don't we address that while Paul's still here? And then and we'll expect some, we'll notify the homeowner that there's still some work may be done. I think Goddard Consulting is handling that. Mark was here, but I don't know if he's the person who's handling that. Do you know, Lori? Or is that their
I think Scott was handling it. Scott Goddard.
Oh, okay. So Scott wasn't on. I guess the question really comes down to it's one of jurisdiction at this point has been raised, which is and we had a discussion at the last meeting as to the state regulations versus our regulation. And Paul did some research into that, and it just will give us some background, and then we'll deal with it at the next meeting there. Paul, can you just outline some of the numbers that you were talking about relative to the term? This homeowner moved in. There's a pond. It's man-made pond. It has a clay bottom. The measurements seem to show that it's close to actually not being jurisdictional. It appears not to be jurisdictional under state as a isolated land subject to flooding. It's close relative to Dover. And there was a question in terms of our bylaw that, as Scott called it, a vibrant discussion relative to what how that would be handled. And Paul has come up with some stuff. If you could just fill us in on how the right way to review that is.
Yeah, so are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically what I kind of run through all the things that it might be. It's basically, looking at the GIS, it's too small to be a pond under state or local. The next thing is isolated land subject to flooding. As John said, the bylaw has a stricter standard for just the definition of isolated land subject to flooding, which is basically under state regulations, does it annually pond a 1/4 acre foot volume, which is 11,000 cubic feet plus or minus. Under the bylaw, it's a 6 acre foot volume. So it's around 7,000 cubic feet. So just scaling it quick from the GIS, it looks like it's about 2,700 square feet. So to get those volumes, you need to have under the state criterion, you need to have an average of about 4 feet of depth in the springtime, and about 2.5 feet, 2.7 feet of average depth under the bylaw. So that I really don't know. The other thing that comes into this is that under the state regs, and the bylaw refers to the state regs for the definition of a pond. Definition of a pond actually excludes areas with a man-made impervious liner, which this is reportedly the case here. One of the things that I did was I did a little research, looked at the soils maps. Based upon the soils maps and soil description, talks about sandy, high percolation soils, deep water tables. That the fact that there is this ponding area that holds water in those soils is supported. The idea that it's got a man-made liner in it is supported by the soils data, which suggests that it shouldn't be there otherwise. So it could be isolated land subject to flooding, which does not have the pond exclusion for man-made impervious areas. I would note that under the state regs, the land subject to flooding performance standards are much reduced for areas that don't percolate and don't have a connection to the water table. Bordering vegetated wetlands, it doesn't border anything, so it can't be that. Isolated vegetated wetlands, as I understand it from John's quick description to me, there's really not a vegetated plant community there. Is that correct, John? It's
from
basically
what we could see, if there were, it had been disrupted, but it would have been top of bank only from what we could see. There was grass, there was lawn around there, patchy, and but it didn't, and then it's surrounded by pine trees.
Yeah, so it's probably not that. Vernal pool is actually probably the trickiest analysis in this whole thing. Under the state regs, there's a presumption that if an area is not certified as a vernal pool, which this is not, there's a presumption that it isn't. The other thing that's interesting is that under state regs, vernal pools are not a resource area. They're a type of habitat. So for vernal pool to be protected under state regs, it has to exist in a protected resource area. So if it's not a pond, if it's not isolated land subject to flooding, even if it were a vernal pool, it wouldn't be protected under state regs. Under your bylaw regs, however, you take a much more conservative approach. And the bylaw basically says, if it looks like it might be a vernal pool, then the applicant has the burden of demonstrating that it isn't. So, it talks about any area which any credible evidence suggests may be a vernal pool shall be presumed to be one. And the fact that this area is ponded now suggests to me that it would be ponded into the spring. That's any credible evidence of it being a vernal pool. So that is actually, I think, the most difficult question to answer here, because the only way to answer it is to go and look at it in the spring.
And Paul, the state deals with artificial impermeable layers, the clay, for example, but it doesn't address it when it comes to vernal pools. It just addresses it for certain resource areas. Is that correct?
It's just for a pond. Under the definition of a pond, it says the following man-made waters shall not be considered ponds. And then it talks about swimming pools or other impervious human-made basins. So if this is a man-made basin with a clay liner, then even if it were big enough to be a pond, which it isn't, but even if it were big enough to be a pond, it would be excluded from being a pond based upon what I understand to be this clay liner.
And the soils that you saw from GIS showed, what was it? Significant footage between there and the water table.
Yeah. So this is from the soils report here. Talks about, somewhat excessively well drained, runoff very low, high transmissivity in the water, depth to water table more than 80 inches. So all of that suggests to me that this area would not even exist if it didn't have a liner.
Okay.
If I can just add that with regard to the vernal pool issue, this area is so highly compromised and has been so altered. I don't know if, in terms of determining, is it a vernal pool? I just think that's a real concern.
Compromised by the work that they did in the summer, or compromised because it's in somebody's backyard with
compromised because of the work they've done. I mean, they had two excavators. They removed bank. They removed probably into 10 to 20 feet from the edge of the pond. And there was an excavator, as my picture shows, in the pond removing material. So I don't know.
When I think the fact that it's still holding water, they kind of ties in. They said they were removing leaf litter and just a bunch of organics that had built up over time. It was very the irony is, if they let it go a few more years, it might have filled in on its own with that. But they didn't poke through the liner. The stuff we saw on the sides was just the type of stuff you see for years worth of
probably all the salamander eggs they removed.
Could be. I didn't
the
season, but no.
The salamanders, the salamanders, if they didn't ruin the hydrology, and the salamanders were there last year, then I think they'll be here next year.
Yeah.
Good.
It's they're pretty resilient. But
this stuff doesn't live in the leaf litter that they took out.
No, the salamanders, the adults live up in the woods. They come down and lay their eggs in the spring. The eggs develop over, several weeks to months.
And that would be the same with the frogs?
Yeah, wood frogs are the same.
They all leave. That's why we saw them all in those buckets
And
at
the
lot 3.
fairy shrimp. Oh no, they all leave once they've hatched, but they also leave. They also.
But then
come in.
then they come back. Yeah.
The fairy shrimp though, Amy, you're correct about that. Fairy shrimp would potentially be affected by this. Although I will say, I saw once was involved, somebody completely filled a vernal pool in Medway, just totally obliterated it, went back, dug it all out, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see that the next spring the fairy shrimp were back. I don't know how they managed to stay there, because this place was filled and then just decimated in the cleanup process. But somehow the eggs managed to hang around. So
Amara had a question and I jumped in in front of her. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. You were answering it along the way. I was just trying to make sure I understood that this is a man-made pond. We don't know if it's a pond exactly, but all of these categories could be applied to a man-made structure. Is that right?
They
Except
could.
for the vernal pool. The vernal pool is sort of a wait and see situation.
Well, even the vernal pool, I mean, we have a lot of vernal pools that are old farm ponds. Yeah, the man-made history does not preclude any of these categories.
So we ran into at the last meeting, and I expect we'll run in the next meeting, is they're maintaining that that it was not jurisdictional under isolated land subject to flooding, or our version of that under our bylaw, because it didn't hold enough water. I think Paul's review, and then we pointed out that for them to determine that, they would need 100-year storm. They would need to do the calculations on that. And Paul actually came in with some insight. Well, I'll let you, Paul, you mentioned that you look at what the average is for the year, gives you an idea as to what the volume is. And then you look at it, and if you don't know what it is for a year, you run a 1-year storm scenario for that watershed, which is pretty small.
Yeah,
and,
so the isolated land subject to flooding is, I put in a link here to, there's a DEP policy that describes this. And under your bylaw, it's all the same with the exception of a 1/6 acre foot as opposed to a 1/4 acre foot. But anyway, so for isolated land subject to flooding to exist, it has to pond that requisite volume once a year. And so, for example, if you went out there now and measured this thing up and it was, 3,000 square feet and then 5 feet deep, you do the math, it's going to have sufficient volume in there. So, you've met the threshold. If you can't do that, and a lot of ILSF areas dry up completely in the summer. And if you can't do that maximum annual flooding, then there's a process for doing an evaluation by stormwater analysis. And again, that's an annual event. So determine if ILSF exists. If you're doing it by calculation, you do the 1-year storm. Once you trip the threshold and say, okay, this ILSF exists, then the boundary of it is determined based upon a 100-year storm. So you only do the 100-year storm to figure out the boundary once you've crossed the threshold of the existence. Does that make sense? So first, I would say the first cut, since John described this thing as fairly, pretty well defined, I would say the first cut would be to actually get an area and a depth of water under current condition. Now, the interesting thing is, from what I'm hearing about material being excavated, they may have very recently increased the volume.
Well, they did have a volume for us, didn't they?
They did, and
it had done some depths.
Yeah, and I can't recall. It was less than what we required, but then
it was less than a 1/4 acre, but I don't know if it was less than a 1/6 acre.
I think, and I'm guessing because it was right around the edge there. And the question was, as I read our bylaw at the moment, I thought for them to actually get the true volume, they had to show us a 100-year storm. And what Paul is telling us is, no, we figure out where they are currently, or we have them run a calculation for a 1-year storm, not a 100-year storm, and see if they meet the 6 acre cubic feet threshold. And if they don't, then it's not jurisdictional under isolated land, subject to flooding. If they do, to establish how much it is covered, then you run the 100-year. But I don't think that would make much of a difference because there is a top of bank there. It's really a matter of whether or not they meet that original threshold. So I think this is all background information for the next meeting that we have. They may very well be able to make a case that it's not jurisdictional under isolated land under our bylaw, and then that remains. Then that leaves the vernal pool review. Is that correct, Paul?
I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay. So I think that just gives us all some background going into the next meeting. I'd like to, move on for that and let Paul, shut up shop for the night.
Thank
so,
you.
So
but take a look when you have a minute, go through this and think about it, because it is a complicated analysis. There's a lot of moving parts to these definitions. So it's actually beneficial to have a little discussion. Then you can read this at a quiet moment, and in a couple of weeks when it comes up again, it'll make more sense to you.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you very much.
One last thing, John, I sent this to the commission again very late today. I have not circulated this to Goddard or anybody. I don't know, perhaps Laurie should do that. Or that's what I'm asking.
No,
should I do it? Or?
Yeah, no, why don't we have Laurie do it? Have it come out of the office. Okay. But I'll talk to Laurie about that, because I'm not sure if we need more information from them before we send this out, or I'll find out what the right thing to do is there.
Okay. My question to them would be, what's the actual standing water volume in it today, and what's the actual standing water volume of kind of the high water mark?
And you're saying that, and they could run that with a 1-year simulation based on, what is it, hydrostat or?
Well, see, the interesting thing is that the drainage calc says that you calculate the runoff that's going to come in here from the watershed, which I expect is very small. Because you have the high permeability soils. I'm guessing, just looking, that there's not much of a watershed that drains into it. So if you ran the calc from the runoff, you're probably going to get a very small number. But the instructions say that you should consider groundwater in that.
And yet your soils are saying that average depth to groundwater is what, 80 or 90 inches or something.
Right, but what is the water in here? Because the first part of the definition talks about, observed or recorded, maximum observed or recorded. So it's messy. It's just messy.
Okay. Well, and that's part of that is going to be up to the applicant to have to illustrate. So it's funny how something as simple as a hole in the backyard can encompass so much. So
yeah, it's one of the hardest questions to answer in the whole regs.
And then there's always discussing with Scott Goddard whether or not it's a vernal pool.
Oh yeah. So well, which is
we don't take his word for it, right?
I spoke to Scott.
Let's not go down that path.
No, years ago I informed Scott that our springtime observation regulation was named after him. But anyway, okay. So he's not here to defend himself. Janet.
So while Paul is here, on our agenda was a peer review account discussion. And I have that Paul is consulting with us on 5 current or recent projects. And I don't know if you wanted his input on any of these in terms of follow-up. especially on 12 to 14 Miller Hill, we're obviously getting a lot of pressure to move that along. I don't believe we have any kind of agreement yet with Paul. So is there something that we can address
So
now?
that is in process. Paul and I talked. Paul's original oversight there was for the wetland delineation. So there was confusion on all parties in terms of when things would start for the other review. And so Paul's going to be putting together a more encompassing, report or more encompassing quote that will leave him leeway for amending things because we don't know exactly what direction it's going to go in. Do you have is that a correct description of it, Paul, you think?
Yeah, and I actually very late today, John, up to the meeting, was kind of starting to draft something, and I get to the point of trying to guesstimate how many hours to put in, which has been my holdup, and I don't know. And my thought is I was going to just make an assumption of 30 hours. I don't know what you think of that.
You're a better judge of your time than I am. And I think just as long as you have some verbiage that allows you to exceed that, if the additional things come in. Also, the question as to whether or not you should have an estimate of whether things that are outside our jurisdiction, but we've been asked to review, would be at least broken out a little differently, separately. Because they were discussing they want to get going, but most of what they want to get going on is actually outside the 100-foot jurisdiction, but they've requested that since it's up gradient, that it could affect things down gradient. And I don't know if, or at least address that is something that will be incorporated in this.
I mean, I heard Brooks say that there's going to be one comprehensive plan, which I think makes sense.
Yeah. And you couldn't just you could just put that in as a sentence, but leave the leeway in to your ability to adjust hours based on the oversight required. So I think 30. I mean, you're very efficient. So I think 30 certainly gives you a base to deal with.
Okay, all right. I'll just go with that, and like I said, make it clear that it's really a guess, and it's going to depend on the quality of product and how much back and forth, and
absolutely, yeah.
and other people weighing in and being asked to comment on other people's critiques, and so
yeah. So we'll try to. I know I will try to do a better job of keeping them contained. I think I've gotten a little bit better from the first meeting we had, but yeah, we want to. And I'm kind of viewing this as the planting stuff should be the easy part of it. So let's see.
I hope so.
And then just to follow up, Paul's consulting with us on 10 Draper, 4 Haven Terrace, and now 29 Saddle Ridge. And do we have estimates and agreement with him on those?
So, well, go ahead, Paul, won't you?
On Draper, yes. I don't know where I am with respect to it, but I did give a proposal for that. Haven, I think I did. I'm not sure.
Lori is nodding.
Lori has some numbers there, or an approximation there relative to like 4 Haven. Did we receive a bill for that? And
So 4 Haven's all set except for the very latest bill. I'll have to speak with the owner and just get a little bit more. The very last bill was small. And Draper, there's still some money left for 10 Draper. And what was the other one?
So 29 Saddle Ridge we wanted to get an idea of what was involved. So Paul, we're right at the moment. We had made it clear to the resident, the homeowner, that we would be enlisting Paul's services. He wasn't too pleased, but it's it is what it is. But in order to prepare for tonight's meeting, because I thought they would be here, we authorized Paul to do some research on that, and that will be rolled into whatever we do with that with the resident there.
So you want me to provide a budget for that?
Yeah, yeah. And part of that is trying to get it, we'll find out more at the next meeting where they want to go with that. But yeah, I think you did a lot of research today and appreciate it. Janet, was there any other
No, I
things
think,
there?
and then the other one was the Junction Street and Red. I think that's all wrapped up.
It's already covered.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay, then, let me think. Oh, so, well, okay, then we're, I think that covers Paul's portion of this evening. Is that correct, everyone? Okay, great.
good.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for especially the work the last couple of days. Thank you.
Thanks.
Very helpful.
Take care, guys.
Thanks. Just a quick thing to go back to the budget vote. So we're submitting a budget to the town. Based on the discussions that we had at our previous meeting. So we're increasing the amount that we're looking for the consulting agent. We also, it was pointed out that, Lori, it would be helpful for Lori to have some additional hours that she could have as floating hours to be able to take care of paperwork backlog. So we're putting in for an additional 39 hours for the year to help with that, just so that we have it budgeted, so we don't have to pull it out of another account. Did you send did you send that out to people to review? Was that today?
Yes.
Okay. So the total came out to, was it around 178,000?
173,383.
Okay. So, does anybody need greater detail than that? Or they can look it up online? I'd like to just move to vote to approve that so we can submit it to the
Move
town
to approve
tomorrow.
the budget.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Tim,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anna? Amara,
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so we've taken care of that. In light of where we are for time, Jenna, I think, oh, go ahead, Lori. Yeah.
Can we just vote to have you sign on behalf of all the members so I can get this in quicker? Just one signature for the budget?
Yeah, it is. Is it okay if I sign for the commission as opposed to having all the commissioners come in to sign?
Sure.
Second.
All in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Aye.
Amy?
Aye. All of us.
Amara?
Aye.
Okay, it's an all aye. Okay, got it.
Thank
It's
you.
unanimous. Thank you for this responsibility. I cherish it.
Sorry, I thought I was muted.
Just don't add in a Acapulco vacation or something.
Right, yeah. I'm gonna take those 39 hours and use them for myself. So then what we have left are just some updates, and if there's if we can go through that relatively quickly, Janet, please.
Well, there's a CR, I believe that has to be approved.
For a CR, for who?
A
For
deal-
DLCT on the Blake property
So
that
did we
we
get a copy?
contributed to.
So
What?
when did this come in for review? I know you've been reviewing it, but
Actually, I got it when everybody else did, which was a week or week and a half ago.
okay. For some, I
But
missed that. I didn't
I
see that.
can look.
The only thing I noted is that Christie's name was on the signature page and that needed to be replaced with Emma.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It has already gone through the state approval process,
Okay.
so hopefully we won't have any.
So is that's part of what took the time for this?
Yeah.
To get, yeah. So is there anything else that we need to, we reviewed it when we did that originally. Is there anything else that we need to go over prior to voting for it, or?
Let's see, Lori sent it out the 21st, if that helps you find it.
Yeah, I have no intention of reading it tonight.
Okay. So I have read it.
But I
not
may be willing to
super-
vote on it, but
there's a couple of things in it that are confused, the way they worded things in some of the conservation values are kind of confusing, but the thing that I always look for, which is public access, is there. So our minimum requirement for public money is public access, and it's there from during daylight hours and subject to DLCT rules and regs. And if they close it down, they have to get our permission to do that.
Okay. And is there, so do you think that it's in a votable form, or do we have to, I'm not clear what our role is here.
I think it's good enough. I might make a couple little suggestions to them on their wording, but since they've already gone through the state, really shouldn't be changing things. But obviously we have to change the signature page or where it's going to be hard to get it approved because, but I think actually what we do is actually just recommend to the Board of Selectmen that they sign it. So I think both of us sign it, but they're the gate. I've forgotten exactly. Janet, do you remember?
Yeah, so the Concom does have to formally vote to approve, to recommend it to the selectmen, but the Concom does have to formally recommend approval. So
right.
Yeah.
And we do have to sign it.
And Janet, did you take a look at it as well, Janet?
I did a quick review. I do remember us saying, wouldn't it be nice if there was flexibility for maybe some parking? And I do, there's some flexibility there.
Okay, great.
There are two, they specify 2 parking spaces, and I think there is some flexibility with the consultation with us. And the other thing that we talked about with them was agriculture, and there is extensive language about being able to farm the land, although it can't obstruct any conservation values, and one of their conservation values is the scenic views. So whatever agriculture they do, they have to do in a pretty way.
Okie doke. So what I'm hearing is that both of you who are well versed in this have reviewed this and recommend that we recommend it to the selectmen. Does that seem appropriate? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to do so.
Move to recommend the CR to the selectmen.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amara?
Aye.
Sorry. Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, other updates, Janet?
We did have a land management meeting yesterday. Anna, I don't know if Anna's our leader. If you want to give a brief update.
Yeah, so the bog bridge is in progress. We are working on sourcing lumber. The plan is white oak. Obviously that is immediately figuring out who can we buy it from and are they a vendor? And so I will have questions for Lori later about, allowed vendors and stuff. So that's moving along. We talked a little bit about putting down chicken wire, doing something in the meantime to make it more stable, but are mostly just trying to get the new bridge done. We're working on planning and thinking about the strategic land management plan, cross-referencing to the open spaces plan, and trying not to repeat work, especially the surveying that was done, and are continuing to get organized on waivers. And town council offered we need to post minutes and post meetings, so getting organized about that really quickly. And then there was some discussion about signage, especially mostly like left and right turns and trail number and trail intersection numbers and starting in Wild Woods, which immediately came to the question of, should we put up the property signs? So the property signs that have plagued us, we're happy to do that. But I also don't want to steal anyone's thunder.
Well, the polls are Jim.
Yeah.
Jim and John, I think, put the polls up. It's
No,
just-
the highway department did actually. So
Oh.
that was, yeah, so they're in there
They're,
really
they're
solidly.
there. We just need the signs.
So I have a couple signs. I don't know if, Tim, do you have any other signs at your house?
I do. I have a couple of
Okay.
them.
Okay, and then are there a few more that needed to be done, do you know?
Probably.
And would you have any of that time in the course of X number of months to do that?
Yeah, I have to. I had a slight disaster with my CNC machine, so I have to repair it. But once I do
Oh,
that, it's
my condolences.
Did we ever come up with a name? I can't remember for the Snyder property. You know,
Springdale.
is
I
it
think we were gonna call it Springdale Meadows.
Yeah.
Springdale Meadows? Okay, perfect.
Okay. And what's the other
Okay.
one? Springdale Field?
Well,
Okay.
that's Springdale Field is the DLCT.
Right, no, I
Right,
just wanted,
right.
yeah, just wanted, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We could just
Uh,
call it Spring Meadows, but everybody seems to turn it into Springdale anyway. So
Yep.
might as well just go with the flow.
Okay, and I'll check down the barn to see which signs I have.
And then,
Okay.
you know, okay.
I will email you both to organize pickup. It is obviously extremely easy to come by, especially Tim, your house. So yeah, we can do that. I think our next meeting is tentatively in December, maybe January. So I'll email you and we can put up signs sometime around then.
Okay, and I assume DLCT can give you guidance in terms of, I don't know if they use stainless steel screws or whatever. It'd be nice not to have stains, dripping down, so.
To put the signs up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, stainless steel screws makes sense.
Yeah, I'm thinking that in I'm blanking out on the type of washer, but it's a cup washer or whatever it is.
Okay.
Not the flat ones.
You don't, yeah, I think it's AZEK, so it's just.
Yeah, that's true. You may not even need it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
just a countersink and a screw in it should be fine.
Okay.
I'm not gonna get a lot of force on it.
No, hopefully.
That'll be a fun land management problem when someone is swinging from the sign.
Okay, and anything else for land management?
I think that is it.
Excellent. Well, it's really great that we actually have a land management group now. So, thank you very much. Let's see, Janet, next.
I'll try to make this a speed round here.
Yep.
The first item, 14 Hamlin's Crossing, as you'll recall, they came in for a COC. There was major tree removal. We issued an enforcement order. The deadline for submittal of their restoration plan was November 1st. So
Okay.
Joyce is supposedly working on it, and I check in with her and she said, oh, it's coming this week. But that was 4 weeks ago. So what I would recommend is that a letter go out from the office. And this was issued to two people, the current owners and then the immediate previous owners. Who
That's
actually
it. Was Jonathan Fryer involved in that as
Yes,
well?
Jonathan Fryer
Okay.
was representing the people who actually took the trees down and then sold the property without
Okay.
a. Yeah.
Okay, so Laura, if we can get a letter out to them and CC Jonathan on behalf of his client, please.
Yeah, so those are two letters because they were both on the hook and they were supposed to be coordinating who was doing what. Apparently there was some money left in escrow, but it wouldn't cover this apparently, so. Okay. And then we really should have a date certain by which we want that. So if that goes out, say Monday, I would give them. I don't know. So the enforcement order was issued at the end of September. And we were generous with, giving them about 6 weeks. So if this goes out like Monday, I think we should get this by December 22nd or the 21st. Lori's in the
Okay.
office on the 21st.
Okay, I think that's still, that's generous. I think that, yeah, let's go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. I did send out a request that I received from a resident at 24 Saddle Ridge Road. He's putting in, originally it was an underground propane tank, about 70 feet from the wetlands. It's in a disturbed lawn area. An RDA is usually required. He said he felt there was some urgency to get the tank in because it would fuel a generator. They lose power a lot. And against my better judgment, I said, okay, I'll present this to the commission to see if you would approve this administratively. This would be like an exception.
How big a tank?
I can't remember the size. It's a double tank for a single generator.
Oh, well, so it's not an underground tank?
No, now, so I think in a hope that he could get this kind of in without needing an RDA. Well, they're now above ground on a lawn area, 70 feet away, no tree removal. We obviously would approve it if it came before us as an RDA.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, I think especially if it's not an underground tank, I have no problem with us approving that. Then they'll be subject to Dave Tiberia in terms of what they put it on. You know, they'll probably want, small pad or temporary, the movable pads that they put these tanks on, currently.
Okay, so could I request a vote of that?
Yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to allow Janet to make the administrative.
Sure. So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll just take a voice
Aye.
vote.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm running out of steam.
Okay,
Thank you. So that does beg the question, and John and I have talked about this, are there certain things that maybe we just handle administratively that are so benign? But anyways, that's a further discussion.
well, it is, but
I agree. I think.
and I
that-
think Jen, if you want to put together just I imagine it's a relatively short list of the types of things you encounter, and then we can, we can address that.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
A heads up, Aquarian's going to be coming in within the next month with an NOI for a PFAS treatment system over at 14 Old Colony Drive. Apparently that is the only area that's triggered the PFAS threshold.
Wow.
So that will
That's
be
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good news for,
Oh.
yeah.
What is PFAS?
Go ahead, Janet. PFAS. What is
What is-
PFAS?
what does
These
it
really
stand for?
bad chemicals.
They're
Forever chemicals.
perfluorocarbons. They're basically very, very
gotcha.
tiny molecules
Okay.
that. Mhm.
And we all have like a really high threshold in our bodies of these. We ingest them all the time. So
And they never go away.
yeah,
Yeah,
And-
that is a
They
small
never
problem
break
with that.
down.
active carcinogen.
Like
too.
Teflon.
Yeah.
Beauty of fluorine, I think.
Okay.
There'll be a couple culvert replacement projects coming before us soon. I have one request from Kay Peterson. She has an order of conditions at 25 Wilsondale for her invasive removal and restoration project. Whoever's doing their work has tried to remove privet, which is really tough to get rid of if it's established. So they've been removing that by hand the last couple years and just can't get they can't get the root systems out entirely. So she's requesting permission to do very short-term limited cut and dab of about 8 privet plants that they just can't get a hold of. So
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so administratively, do you need a vote on that, or what do we need to do?
I would like to just have a vote, so it would be the commission's administrative approval of this request.
Sure.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor, voice vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, and I think that's it.
excellent. Well, thank you very much for everyone. It was fun.
Oh, Lori has something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Lori, did you have something?
I'm looking at my list of people. I don't see her anymore. Sarah Mullen.
Oh, I saw Sarah. Yeah. I didn't realize it. Yeah, I saw Sarah
But
show up.
it looks like she signed back off.
She might have been on for the CR.
Maybe.
Oh, for Blake? Oh, okay.
Yeah, she kind of, she was riding herd on that.
Okay.
For deals.
Okay, that's all.
I just
that's all
figured
I
she,
wanted.
she was awake at 11 and figured, why not? What are they up to? Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we got a fair amount accomplished, but hopefully we can tidy up some of these other stragglers at the next meeting there. Regardless of what Gregor McGregor said, I hope everyone feels free to speak up.
So I want to, my favorite Shakespeare quote is from Henry V. When he landed in France, do you know what he said? He said,
Bonjour.
first, we kill all the lawyers.
Well, I tried not to get offended with Sam saying or Ken saying that the Rollins were going to cut off the Norfolk Hunt Club.
Well,
that was.
I was so taken aback by that. I just was like, and I also said I wanted to say I'm your neighbor, and for 3 years when you were doing construction, you never ever said anything to me. So
well,
anyway.
it's also that it's actually in the CR that trail is a trail.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
a
open.
horse easement. Right.
It's not a horse easement, it's a people easement.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
so they cannot put those fences up or Sally will be after them.
Right. Well, I think
they may be
Sam,
all cozy with her right now, but wait till they close off that trail and Gail hears about it. And
well, I think Sam even kind of voiced his conclusion, which is he basically thanked us for listening to his venting, and then he pulled back a little bit. So yeah, there we go. And we have a knowledgeable board who knows that certain things aren't possible. So
And I think in this case, the reality is that because we were able to work cooperatively and get voluntary compliance, we saved them from having to go to court. So they were complaining that all these attorneys and all the costs, but we kind of stuck our necks out and it worked. But these types of things take time, and I think we have a really good resolution here. And so I think they were just frustrated, but anyway.
Well,
I think
if they want payment, they should go after Millette in court because he took a lot of very expensive lumber off their property.
That may be something that is already.
I don't see why they're not. I'm sure they're doing that. So I don't feel bad about spending their lawyers. They're wasting my evenings too, so
just remind them how much worse it could have been.
Well,
yeah,
it's also that half the delay is them talking, right?
Yeah.
It's not us.
That was Tim's point about Henry V.
So I think they may have had their own internal echo chamber, which built them up for tonight's meeting. So I think they've I think that dissipated by the end, but I think Sam raises a point, but that's his bias too, as a contractor, is to line these things up and make sure they get done. Is that now we have the order out there, and they can concentrate on that. And I think it was also a reasonable idea to have the bi-weekly updates and maintain that. I wasn't so keen on the idea of being the point person, but we'll make that work with Lori and Janet as well. So great. Well, thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to add to this evening?
I'm going to be away the next meeting, so you won't see me till the 4 weeks.
Okay.
Lori knows.
Do we meet right before New Year's? The week between Christmas and New Year's?
What are our next meetings, Lori?
We meet the 13th and
that's
Sarah
when I'm
won't
gonna
be
be away.
there. And then we
Right.
meet the 27th and she'll be back on that.
Right,
Okay.
that's what I was wondering is, that's.
So we meet on the week between Christmas and New Year's?
Well, yeah.
I thought in the past we used to skip that, didn't we?
We have, if we don't have anything for an agenda.
Yeah, that doesn't
But-
appear to be the case, yeah.
No.
Last year, we
Okay.
didn't get a quorum even, like the meeting was scheduled, but we didn't have a quorum, so. I
Interesting.
need a pass on that day, but
What's that?
Do we conspire not to have a quorum?
Yeah, right. Well, we can, but we just can't communicate it to anybody, to
Well,
each
we're in
other.
open meeting now.
well,
Right.
but you could choose not to meet that day.
Yeah, we could move it to, just because of the holidays like we have in the past, but do we have anything really pressing coming up? We got this enforcement order tonight.
Why
but-
don't you look at what's coming in, Janet and John and
Lori.
Lori, and consider it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yes.
be here. It's no skin off my back.
Mhm.
But
There's
let's-
one NOI from GLM and I don't even remember what it's for.
Mhm.
Because I told her it's too late for the 13th. It's gonna have to go to the 27th. So
Okay. Well, let's Lori, you and I can
Mhm.
review this stuff along with Janet, and we'll make a decision. Because
Okay.
it's not just us. I'm sure many of the applicants, if there are many, for that would probably prefer not to be there. So
well, I mean, you never know. A lot of things were issued tonight. Maybe
Yeah.
anything that was continued will be issued on the 13th.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah. So let's see. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And hearing no objection, tonight's meeting is adjourned. Okay. Night.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Night.